It's Sactown Sports 1140. Sactown Sports headlines.
Friday brings good news. That's right. The 49ers, who have been ravaged by injuries, received good news today. The team is expected to have 4 of their starters back for Sunday's game against the Chiefs. Both starting tackles, Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. Not so good news for Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had another setback in his return from the offseason's knee surgery. This time, Dobbins will need to have another surgery on the same left knee and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks following the surgery. In Denver, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson will be a game-time decision. Brett Rippon will be the starter if Wilson can't go. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field, Game 3 of the NLCS between the Padres and the Phillies kick off at 4:37. Joe Musgrove will take the bump for San Diego, while Ranger Suarez will take the ball for Philadelphia. The series is tied at 1 game apiece. Those are your Sactown Sports headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. It's 3 o'clock, which means it's time for the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's coming up right now.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Cattles and Ramie.
I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there. Speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
You know, sometimes in this business, Ramie, you walk into a show and you say, oh, man, how are we going to get 3 hours of content out of what we have to talk about?
Yeah.
Today is not one of those days.
Not one of those days. Not one of those days.
Plenty. We have plenty.
Today we were like,
about.
how do we get it all into 3 hours? That was the question today.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to talk about today. So let's get started. I mean, we don't have any time to waste. Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, is Baybound. He is the newest San Francisco 49er. The deal, I'll give you the details here. The Panthers get a 2nd-round pick this year, a 3rd-round pick this coming year, a 4th-round pick this coming year, and a 5th-round pick in 2024. Here was head coach Kyle Shanahan on KNBR radio earlier today talking about Christian McCaffrey.
In the last couple of days, we kind of saw that we had a chance to compete for him, and it turned up here. And I wish I could say that I was doing anything, but I'm not doing anything. So this isn't me. I'm sitting here coaching this team, getting ready for the Chiefs. And John's been working the phones, dealing with Carolina here for the last 48 hours, and keeps telling me we got a chance. It's getting close. And I'm sitting down here last night, just finishing up red zone and stuff. And right towards the end, I find out that we got it done. And I'm pretty excited, to tell you the truth.
So he's pretty excited. I think a lot of people are excited. Scott Fitterer, who is the Panthers GM, was asked about, how many deals and all that stuff were actually put on the table for McCaffrey. Here's the back and forth with the media.
How many hard offers did you end up getting?
3 hard offers, and then a couple like test the water type offers where they threw their hat in the ring and it was like, no, we're not going to go there. There are a lot of just like mid-level, hey, sniffing to see where it's at, really, more than anything.
So here's my question to you, Ramie, and a question to everybody else listening and watching this show, whether it's on Sactown Sports 1140 or it's youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Was this an overpay by the Niners? 916-339-1140. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Was this an overpay for Christian McCaffrey?
My initial reaction, Nick, was like, whoa, like they gave up a lot. And if you asked me this, when did this deal happen? 12 hours ago? Not even 12 hours ago, or a little over 12 hours ago, whatever it was, I might have said yes. But then the more you think about it, first of all, the position that the 49ers are in right now, there's a time to stockpile draft picks, and there's a time to push all your chips to the center of the table. We all know the famous quote from the Rams GM at their parade that I can't say on these airwaves. So I think that there's a time to go all in. And if there's a time to go all in for the 49ers, it's not just this window that they're in right now, Nick, but it's this year, because all indications are you are handing the reins back over to Trey Lance next year, and we don't know what that looks like. And we talked a lot when they were handing the reins over to Trey Lance this year, if it was realistic to expect a team with a first-year quarterback, second-year guy with as little experience as a Trey Lance has to compete for a Super Bowl. And we're going to be asking that same question next year. Say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo, but we know that they've gotten to an NFC championship and a Super Bowl with him at quarterback, which means you can get at least pretty close to that. So it's time to go all in. And on top of that, these third-round picks that they traded, and look, they still don't have a lot of picks. Now they only have 2/3, a 5th, and a 7th in this year's draft. But they dealt away a pair of compensatory picks, essentially, that they had gotten for letting a couple of free agents walk away. So they're not as depleted in draft picks as some folks might think. And even if they were, this is a team that's competing for a Super Bowl this year, right now.
All right, I think you have to differentiate the player with the value and the price. And what I mean by that is I love Christian McCaffrey as a player. When he's healthy, it's very difficult to not love the guy. But this is an insane overpay. This is absolutely no doubt an overpay. And now you have to win. I mean, if you don't win the Super Bowl, you'll look back at some of these moves and this trade in particular, and you're left scratching your head. I know it's not a rental. He still has a couple of years left on his deal, but this is an overpay. Doug Kyde of Pro Football Focus wrote about it today. He said, look, the Niners have 3 third-round picks in 2023 because of the compensation. So, they deal one of those picks. But when you look at the old Jimmy Johnson valuation model, when you look at draft picks, this essentially is giving up a first-round pick for Christian McCaffrey. And when you look at what he's done the past couple of years, you go back to, 2018, 2019, his numbers are much better. His, wins above replacement per season is much higher. And now you look at something like the Eagles, what they gave up for A.J. Brown, which was a first-round pick and third-round pick, and you look at that, wins above replacement statistic, there's no doubt that value-wise, the Niners overpaid. This is somebody, as great as he's been, he has been incapable of staying on the football field. And that's a big issue for me. I can't guarantee you that Christian McCaffrey will be playing by December the way his recent history has gone.
That's a fair concern on your part. There's no doubt about that.
It's a huge concern.
Yeah.
And when it's not only this particular trade. The other thing about this deal is that you look at what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have invested in the running back position. It's ridiculous. The running back position.
That's true. You know what? That is true.
It's not very valuable. The running back position in the NFL is not a big market. You're not supposed to pay a lot of money for running backs. You're not supposed to spend first-round picks for running backs. And when you look at it, this is crazy, okay? The Niners, since 2021, just since the 2021 draft, the Niners have now spent 8 draft picks on the running back position. They gave up 2 fourth-round picks to move up to get Trey Sermon. I remind you that they took Sermon and they could have traded him to the Eagles. They decided not to and ended up releasing him and getting absolutely 0 for him. So they traded 2 fourth-round picks to draft Sermon in the 3rd round. They picked Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round. They picked Davis Price this year in the 3rd round. And now they traded a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th for Run CMC. That is 8 draft picks invested in the running back position, which is a position that everybody in the NFL would tell you is not a position that you dump a bunch of assets into. And that's what Lynch has done.
Now that I can't defend, but some of it you can chalk up to injury, but some of it is just missing on guys and mishandling of the position, Nick. There's nothing I can say to defend that. But when you talk about how much they've invested in the running back position, when you talk about how much they gave up in this for McCaffrey specifically, I think that you have to look at it in the context of how Kyle Shanahan runs his offense. And it's very reliant on the running back position, to the point that where when they didn't have a running back last year, he took his best receiver and put him at running back. And maybe that says something about Kyle Shanahan, and he's behind the times in valuing the running back, or having to value the running back position so much for the style of offense that he runs. but also you have to look at it in the context of what I just said, that this is a team that is in a Super Bowl window, and that window might be closing at the end of this season. So what are you saving these draft picks for? And on top of that, Nick, when you look at the team that they're going to be putting around Trey Lance starting next year, it's not like this team is going to age out very fast. A lot of these guys are still young in their mid-20s, and with the exception of Bosa, locked up contractually for years to come. So your roster is not going to get depleted to the point where I think you're going to miss these draft picks. Everything you said is true, but I also think that in the context of the 49ers, outside of the big picture at the running back position, I can't defend that. There's no context that can defend that. But outside of that, I think when you look at the context of the 49ers and where they are as an organization, I think the trade makes sense. It's a steep price to pay. I just don't know what else you were going to do with those resources that we're going to do more to help you in the goal, the end game of winning a Super Bowl in 2022. This is a roster that has lots of free agency, situations and decisions to make here this offseason. I think more than half of their roster is going to be in free agency this offseason. Now you have less draft picks to address possible holes that you may have due to that free agency. I would also argue, if you're investing this much into running back, what are you not investing in? Because there are other positions that you could address on this roster, maybe before the trading deadline, dependent on the injury situation. And now you spend all of this capital into another running back. And on top of all of that, I would say that Kyle Shanahan and his history has proven he could take other guys. He could take a Davis Price. He could take an Elijah Mitchell. He could take a Jeff Wilson and get more out of the running back position because of the scheme. I love the player, but I don't think there is any argument somebody can give me and throw back at me that tells me this is not an overpay. And they absolutely have to win it now. There's no, if you win it, you can justify everything. We know that, right? You win a championship, it justifies everything. But this is an overpay. When you look at it in a vacuum, absolutely an overpay. I want people's thoughts on this. 916-339-1140 is the text line. You can check us out, youtube.com/C/Sactown Sports 1140. Do you think this was an overpay by the Niners? And was it a massive overpay? We'll get to some of your reaction. Also coming up in 90 seconds, Run CMC isn't the only 49ers storyline. They've got the game of the week on Sunday. Yeah, we'll talk Niners Chiefs.
Get your 49ers fix every week with the return. Spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Frankie Cardicelli joins us in about 15 minutes to talk Kings basketball with all of you getting ready for the big weekend. Clippers tomorrow night at Golden One, and then the Kings travel to play the Warriors on Sunday night. So Frankie will join us in about 15 minutes. Want to remind you that Coastside Medical Clinic is dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. We also want to get to the Chiefs-Niners game coming up on Sunday. Frankly, it is the game of the week in the NFL. But first, I want to get to some of your reaction on YouTube about this trade for Christian McCaffrey. Again, if you're just joining us, we asked you, did the Niners overpay for McCaffrey? Brad Clayton says that, yes, they overpaid. They lose the trade. Peter, he also posts here, agree, Nick, don't like the trade because of the risks, giving too much draft capital for the risk. Love McCaffrey, but too risky. Tony Dogs brings up that Kyle Shanahan has 2 years left on his contract, and maybe he just wants to win and get out eventually. David Neal says maybe, but every single one of those running backs that played for Kyle got injured at some point. Yes, David, and that's why you don't overpay for running backs, because injuries to running backs are not a new thing. That is why teams draft these guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. They sign undrafted free agent running backs that work out all the time. Look at San Francisco within itself. Look at how many guys have been successful from, Mostert to Wilson to Mitchell last year, and look at what you spent to bring those guys in. And that way, if you get the inevitable injury at that position, you can at least say to yourself, well, we didn't give up a ton to bring him in. Now you've done that. You've spent 8 picks at that position the last 2 off seasons, including this trade, which is just absolutely obnoxious. And you better hope that Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, because if he doesn't, you're in trouble. Mr. All Red Everything says, I believe the Niners got a steal. That's definitely an interesting take.
I can't say it was a steal. I can't say, Nick, I'm sitting here thinking about it in a 90-second commercial break. I want to amend my answer. I'm not saying they didn't overpay. They might have overpaid, and I'm okay with that for the position that they're in. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that, again, the question is, did they need him? Like, yes, McCaffrey's a great player when he's healthy. He's going to add a dynamic to this team, which we'll talk about in the 4 o'clock hour, how much he impacts them. But did you really need it? And with the risk assessment here, did you need to give up what you gave up? I saw a tweet earlier today from an NFL insider saying the Buffalo Bills drew the line at a 2nd-round pick. That's what they were willing to give up. A 2nd-round pick was as much as they were willing to give up. And, the Niners, they came in over the top. And Mr. All Red Everything's point is, look, any of those 4 picks going to be an impact player that would give them the Super Bowl today. I mean, we don't know. But again, it's not apples to apples. This is a very nuanced conversation, I think, on some level, because when we're talking about running backs, we're talking about a position that is devalued across the league in a position that you do not have to overpay to get production out of. I'll give you an example. My own backyard where I grew up, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. The Patriots have one of the best running games in the NFL. They used mid-round picks on those 2 guys. Mm-hmm. You can go around the league and you can find all of these running backs that were brought in, 3rd-round picks, 4th-round picks, 6th-round picks, and they produce. So it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. It's what you're giving up and what you could have given up and how you could have replaced this position if you needed to replace it in the first place. Enrique says that he loves the trade. So we have a little back and forth here. Some people saying overpay, some people saying it's all good.
Which is what I'd expect with how much they gave up, but the type of player that you're getting in Christian McCaffrey. And you're right, Nick, like you can be productive at the running back position, but I think there's a difference between being productive and having a home run hitter at that position, between having a backfield that will get you a certain amount of production and yards per carry, and having a guy that changes a game on one play. And Christian McCaffrey is that type of guy. He changes an offense when he's right and when he's healthy. And I told you, when I saw him play the 49ers, when I was watching that game, and there were a couple times he got past the first level, and I was wondering if Christian McCaffrey has maybe lost a gear where he would pull away or pick up a little head of steam before he got to the 2nd or 3rd level that I didn't quite see, but that was a very small sample size. I don't watch every snap of Christian McCaffrey week in and week out to know if that observation is correct or not. But when he's right, that's a guy who's a home run hitter and who changes a game in 1 or 2 plays. And that's not something that's necessarily easy to get at the running back position.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports with you here on a Friday. Again, Frankie Cardicelli joins us in 10 minutes to talk Kings basketball. Let's stick with the Niners, though, because they have a big game this weekend. They have the game that we all circled on the calendar in the offseason, benchmark game. And the Niners are getting healthier. They're absolutely getting healthier at the perfect time. And when you look at, the official injury report, Eric Armstead's going to miss this game with his foot/ankle. Travarius Ward is questionable. Talanoa Hufanga is also questionable. He's still in the concussion protocol. He was in a non-contact jersey today, so we don't know if Hufanga is going to be out there just yet. But everybody else is a go. Trent Williams is a go. Nick Bosa is a go. Jimmy Ward is a go. I would guess that Mooney Ward is going to be a go. So what we have here, Ramie, is we actually have a fair fight on Sunday, which gets me very excited. I did not want to see a game between the Chiefs and the Niners where the Niners have 8 defensive starters missing.
Yeah, I didn't want to see the Chiefs versus the B squad. That is not what I wanted to see. Just as a football fan, I'm really excited that all those guys are coming back. I'm surprised, Nick, you and I, when Trent Williams went down, we were like, man, a high ankle sprain for a human that large, that's not going to be an easy thing to come back from anytime soon. I'm surprised he's back for this one, and maybe he pushed to get back for this one. Maybe a bunch of these guys pushed to get back from this one, but I'm glad that the 49ers are going to be close to full strength. I think as close to full strength as anybody could have hoped for at this point. We're going to see a heavyweight battle, and I think it's gonna live up to the expectations that I have and that I think you have. It's a very good 49ers defense trying to slow down Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. This is gonna be a fun game on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I'm really glad the 49ers are getting healthy for it.
I agree with you. And is McCaffrey going to play? We'll have to wait and see. I know today John Lynch said that would be kind of a tough ask, a tall tale or a tall ask or whatever he said. So it's going to be a very difficult situation to try to squeeze McCaffrey in. But a couple of things to watch out for. As Ramie said, you got Patrick Mahomes against these defensive backs of the Niners. Will you get Travarius Ward out there? How many snaps will he play? Mosley's obviously out for the year. Jason Verrett was not activated off the PUP today, so Verrett will not be out there. So what does your secondary look against this Chiefs offense? And the interesting thing is, what will the Niners do defensively? D'Amico Ryans, will he play as much zone as he usually does? You know, the Niners going into this weekend, they play the 3rd most zone coverage in the NFL. And what defenses have done against Kansas City is they have played a lot of man. And so you wonder if D'Amico Ryans is going to change things a little bit here and there, and if he plays more man. And finally, what I would say, Ramie, is this could be a game that Jimmy G eats, right? He should be able to attack this defense, because as much as we talk about the Kansas City offense, when you look at DVOA, their defense is ranked 28th in the league. Their front 7 has been soft against the run. They've been forced to play young defensive backs who have given up gigantic plays in the pass game. So the Niners have some chances here, I think, some opportunities on Sunday to attack this Kansas City defense.
This is kind of the case, I think, every week now that I saw that stat that they're 0-26 when down by 4 points or more in the Kyle Shanahan era. They can't get behind early in this one, Nick, because of what you just talked about, which is you can really run the football against this Kansas City team. And so you don't want I was about to say Mike Shanahan. I don't know what corner of my brain that crawled out of, but Kyle Shanahan, he tends to, I think, panic a little bit and get one-dimensional when his team gets down 2 scores at any point in a football game. Last week, he completely abandoned the run game because they were down 14 points. They tied that game at one point, and I think still finished the game with only 16 rushing attempts. You can't let that happen against this game, because if you get one-dimensional and you're losing the time of possession game as badly as you did last week, that means Patrick Mahomes is on the field a lot, and that's not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody when you're going against the Kansas City Chiefs. So you need to at least keep it close or get up early and not let Kyle Shanahan hit the panic button and abandon the run game like we saw last week.
Is Keegan Murray playing this weekend? We'll have the very latest on Keegan and much more with Frankie Carticelli when he joins us next.
Hello, I'm Frank Cockwood, Retirement Security Center for the weekly economic update. Is inflation always all bad for Americans? Well, we have spent the past 12 months lamenting the damage inflation does economically. There are some bright spots that will remain long after costs of goods and services come down.
Nick Bosa and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. Not so good news for Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had another setback in his return from the offseason's knee surgery. This time, Dobbins will need to have another surgery on the same left knee and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks following the surgery. In Denver, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson will be a game-time decision. Brett Rippon will be the starter if Wilson can't go. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field, Game 3 of the NLCS between the Padres and the Phillies kick off at 4:37. Joe Musgrove will take the bump for San Diego, while Ranger Suarez will take the ball for Philadelphia. The series is tied at 1 game apiece. Those are your Sactown Sports headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, our Kings cowboy, Frankie C. That's next.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
So what is this? Fridays with Frankie? Is that what we said? Is
Yes.
this what we're calling this?
Yes, that's what we're going with.
All right.
Fridays with Frankie.
All right, Fridays with Frankie. We'll get to Frankie Cardicelli in a minute, but I want to remind all of you, the Sactown Sports Kings Recap Show, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140 this weekend. After both games, after the Clippers game, you will get the Kings Recap Show. After the Warriors game, you will get a Sactown Sports Kings Recap Show. Again, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Our friend Frankie Cardicelli from SactownSports.com joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Frankie, thanks for all the time, as always, my friend. Keegan Murray, give us an update, Frankie.
Fellas, good to be back with you. The Fridays with Frankie thing, I have to get used to it. Sounds like we might need some tea or something. It sounds very fancy. No, Keegan Murray, I think he's doing a lot better. Obviously, he's practiced the past 2 days. He is hoping to play tomorrow night. That's going to be up to the medical staff, but obviously being back in practice is the number one step, and him being healthy is most important. But talking to De'Aaron Fox today at practice, he said that you wouldn't be able to even tell if Keegan was kind of deconditioned from missing that time due to the illness. But he's aiming to play tomorrow, and we're going to find out when the medical report comes out here at 5:30. But I would anticipate he's going to be suiting up tomorrow night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. There's been this debate of Keegan Murray, should he start or not? Would that even be a possibility? Is his conditioning in a place where he could start and play those types of minutes?
I think it's possible. I mean, today at practice, Keegan was with the starting group, and that was kind of a notable thing that myself and other media members took a note of. The fact that KZ Okpala had the reversible jersey. It was the side of the second unit today. So he was playing with Rashawn Holmes and Malik Monk and the rest of the second unit guys. And Keegan Murray was kind of splitting time with Chimezie Metu there in the first unit. Now, that doesn't mean that Keegan Murray or Chimezie are going to start tomorrow. Mike Brown likes to keep things close to the vest. He surely doesn't want to let the media know what he's planning on doing before he goes out and deploys a lineup against a dangerous Clippers team. But I think that we have all kind of talked about this before, and we all kind of know it's going that direction. It's a matter of when, not if, Keegan Murray becomes a starter on this team. But I think tomorrow it'd be a nice situation for Keegan, because when you look at the Clippers, if you were to bring him in off the second unit, Kawhi Leonard is supposed to come off the bench. Now, there's a strong possibility that Kawhi Leonard does not play tomorrow night, which could kind of change things too. But I think throwing Keegan Murray out there, he's someone that you hope is going to be a star in this league. You have to kind of throw him out there and see if he can hang with the best. And tomorrow, Paul George, he's a guy that Keegan Murray will have to defend at one time or another. And if he's ready and he's fully healthy, which it seems like he is, let's see what he has.
Frankie Cardicelli with us here on this Friday. Frankie, when we talk about Keegan possibly starting here, whether it's right around the corner or sometime down the road, we've always brought up KZ Okpala. But I wanted to ask you, HB had a terrible defensive night on Wednesday. Last year, he had the 5th worst defensive rating in the NBA. Could we eventually see HB sitting instead of KZ down the road?
I don't think it's a possibility at this time. I think Mike Brown is so high on Harrison Barnes. He's a huge Harrison Barnes guy, and he always speaks very highly of him. I think that what Harrison Barnes brings to this team, it goes beyond on the floor. Now, that only goes so far because, as you said, Harrison Barnes did not have a good game the other night. The defensive end of things, yeah, he's been a bad defender for the past year or two now. And of course, the 9 points cannot fly on a night where Domantas Sabonis is not getting his looks and Sabonis is having trouble against Justice Winslow. So HB's got to pick it up on one end of the floor, and when he's not doing either, it's tough. And that's kind of where that case comes up. Would KZ Okpala be slid in eventually? And I think that's going to kind of come to a point of it depends on how the season pans out. If the Kings get to a point in a week or two, and they're 2-9 and they're trying to keep their heads above water, late game situations, if Harrison Barnes isn't bringing much to the table, yeah, I think you could see KZ Okpala go out there and play against some of those teams that have those scoring wings, because it's something that I think KZ even said himself. He believes he matches up better against guys that are his size, and while he did start off on Damian Lillard in the season opener, I think you'll see more matchups that include KZ against small forwards, power forwards, the guys that kind of match up with his size, because that's kind of what he was brought here for, was defend those flashing, dangerous scoring forwards. So I think that it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but never say never with Mike Brown.
I sensed a not code red, but maybe code yellow level of panic after the season opener a couple of nights ago, Frankie, and I didn't feel that way. I saw some things that were actually kind of promising. What was your overall feeling and takeaway from the opener a couple nights ago?
I don't think it's code red at all. I think that what we saw was kind of a sloppy game. Obviously, the Kings were not very poised down the stretch. They made some questionable decisions, and obviously the back-to-back and ones down the stretch from Sabonis absolutely cannot happen. That's 6 points right there when you were leading that game with 2 minutes to go. So the 25 fouls is, to me, it's an outlier. Last year, their season high in fouls was 28. 25 would have ranked as the third most fouls in a game last season. I don't think that's going to be that's not going to happen every night. But seeing Harrison Barnes and Sabonis struggle the way they did kind of can give you a little bit of, I guess, hope, because I do not believe it's going to happen on a consistent basis. I think that one of those two, and especially the fact that Keegan Murray wasn't even a part of the equation, De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Huerter aren't going to have to do this every night all by themselves. Now, De'Aaron Fox had a very good game offensively. He had some unforced turnovers and some forced turnovers, but that's a separate conversation, of course. But I felt kind of encouraged by the fact that the offense didn't look all that bad. Obviously, like I said, got to get Barnes Sabonis going, but I think tomorrow night we'll see if that can kind of become we can change that tone.
Frankie Cardicelli with us. All guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Frankie, you just mentioned Domas not having a great night. What was your read on what happened with him on Wednesday?
I just think he wasn't getting to the top of the block, and that's usually where we see him operate the most efficiently. He gets into the top of that block on that post, and he can kind of orchestrate the offense. And De'Aaron Fox was doing his thing, and he was kind of being the leader and being, again, the point guard. But I think seeing Sabonis kind of get into a position of power himself with the basketball is where he's most valuable. And Nurkic and Justice Winslow, looks like he's put on a lot of muscle, mind you.
Yeah.
They were giving him trouble. Down the paint. And we were kind of wondering up at Media Row, has Sabonis thinned out a little bit? And I don't really think necessarily he's thinned out, but just some guys around the league that have put on more size, and Sabonis he's not Blake Griffin down there. You can't throw his body around and create the space that some of those guys back in their prime could do. But again, he's most valuable when he has the ball in his hands at the top of the post. And we'll see if he can kind of get there tomorrow night. Keegan Murray, again, hopefully will help them space the floor out and not have so much point of emphasis on Sabonis and not have so much attention on the defensive side of things. But kind of getting him the ball and just clearing out and seeing what he can do, that's where he's most valuable.
Could Kevin Huerter's debut as a King gone any better than what we saw a couple nights ago?
No, absolutely not. I think if you would have imagined that, you wouldn't believe it. But a lot of Atlanta fans were on my Twitter feed just super either devastated and upset because of the deal or happy for Kevin. But either way, it was a great debut for Kevin, and that's going to be a huge tool for the Kings this year. The fact that they have a guy like Kevin Huerter who can knock down threes and just be a playmaker, a guy who can kind of keep the game flowing, and the headband doesn't hurt. Looks good. The hashtag headband Huerter was flowing on Twitter, so time to keep it going tomorrow, Kevin.
One last one for you. I just need one word answer, yes or no. Did they get a split this weekend?
No, but I'll hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm being negative. I'm wrong, but no.
All right, there goes Frankie Cardicelli. Frankie, thanks, man. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Frankie.
So Frankie Cardicelli, all guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Tough weekend coming up. Tomorrow night, Clippers at Golden 1. And then you travel to play Golden State, Steph Curry and company on Sunday night. And as we've talked about, the schedule, especially the first 10 games, very, very difficult. If they get a split, you feel pretty good about it. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. You can follow us on Twitter at Nick C Radio. Ramie's at Ramie is tweeting. Ramie is tweeting. NFL picks coming up.
It's Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave. And it's amazing how the housing market has shifted so quickly over the last few months, and having the right mortgage
gas and throw everything against the wall. For your entertainment purposes only, we've got your NFL picks. Cattles and Ramie. Sports.
Trying to cover my big face on the YouTube.
Yeah, it's just a split screen of your face on both sides. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Oh my.
Oh my God, that frightened me. I'm sorry, everybody. By the way, second-ranked Sac State football tomorrow night versus Montana, 8 p.m. kickoff at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. That's hornetsports.com. Before we get into our picks this week, I want to get to giving away some tickets for one of you lucky listeners and texters. Right now on the text line, 916-339-1140, you can win a pair of tickets to see the legendary band Journey come through the Stockton Arena on April 19th of next year. We want to welcome Chris Ralad back into the party.
Hey!
He is back with us today. Finally, it's been about a week or so. Chris Ralad, what is the word of the day?
Tron.
Tron.
Yeah.
So just Tron. You can text the word Tron to 916-339-1140. 916-339-1140. One of you lucky listeners will win a pair of tickets to see Journey against Stockton Arena, April 19th, 2023. All right, gentlemen, before we go game by game, let's first get the standings of our NFL picks.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cattles. A recap from last week. Everyone hit on the Falcons except for Chris. Ravens and Giants, that would be Ramie alone. He took the Giants by himself. Bills at the Chiefs, that would be me and you, Mr. Cattles. We hit on the Bills. Cowboys and Eagles, the Eagles were giving up 5. Me and Chris hit on the Eagles as you two took the Cowboys. With that all being said, Ramie leads 15 games correct to 10 losses. I would be second, I would match with Ramie, 15-10. Nick, you're tied for second by yourself. You're 9-16. Chris is 8-17.
Yes, I'm out of the basement.
Yes, you are. You dug yourself
slowly
up.
Crawling my way up with the 2-2 week. Listen, when you've been as bad as I was the first 5 or 6 weeks, you'll take a 2-2 week. A 2-2 week feels like you won something. All right, let's get to the NFL picks. And I will just say this for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is a god-awful schedule on Sunday. If you look at the games that we're getting as football fans on Sunday, oh, my goodness, it is bad.
It's not great.
No. I mean, we're going to be saved, hopefully, by the Chiefs-Niners. Most of the other games are terrible. So let's get to it. Steelers at Dolphins. This is your Sunday night matchup.
Oof.
Dolphins -7. Ramie, you lead us.
Steelers coming off a big win last week that not a lot of people expected them to get. I think they take some of that momentum into this game. Not enough to win, but to keep it close. I'm taking the Steelers plus the 7.
Ooh, the Steelers plus the 7.
Yes, sir.
All right, JJ, Chris, whoever wants to go next.
I'm going to follow Ramie's cab. I'm thinking of taking the Steelers. This looks to be Tua's first game back. I need to see it to believe it. I'll take the Steelers. I don't even know. It looks like Trubisky's going to get the start. I just think that the Dolphins, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen their offense even without Tua. I don't think he comes back and it's not humming on all degrees. I'll take the Steelers.
I'm also taking the Steelers. I think it'll be close. I think the Dolphins win, but it'll be a close game.
Clean sweep. I'm going Steelers plus the 7. Not totally sold on Tua McDaniel yet. I know that they had an awesome second half against the Ravens, but the offense has been pretty uneven with Tua out there as the quarterback. And don't forget what Pittsburgh's defense did against Tampa last weekend. I do think that matters.
Mm-hmm.
This game could be low scoring, so give me Steelers getting the 7 points in Miami. Bears at the Patriots. This is the Ramie Nick Super Bowl on Monday night.
I don't think it's very super.
It's the Ramie Nick Bowl. We'll leave super out of it for you, Vlad. All right, so the Patriots are a -7.5, Ramie.
I'd like to say my Bears can keep it close. Did you see Bill Belichick spoke 1,000 words on how good a football team the Bears are a few days ago at his press conference? I don't know what he said because I'm not reading 1,000 words of lies. Bill Belichick. I'd like to think that this game would be close because I want my Bears to at least keep it close, but they won't. They won't. I'm taking the Patriots -7.5.
JJ, Chris.
I'm going to be also taking the Pats. The Bears are just trash right now.
You know what? I'm going against the grain here. I think the Bears, they are terrible, and Ramie spoke about that all season. But their defense is okay. I don't know if okay gets me far, but I think okay gets me close enough to the Patriots. I'll take the Bears.
I don't know if the Bears will score 13 points or more than 13 points on Monday night. You got Belichick with an extra day to study a young quarterback. That usually doesn't go well for the young quarterback, and Chicago's offense has been so bad. I think the only way Chicago scores 13 or more is if you get some turnovers, you get some special teams plays. Then you might see them score more than 13. Mac is probably back, so I'll go Patriots minus 7.5. Texans
it's not
at
Bailey
the Raiders.
Zappi? No Bailey Zappi in this one?
Well, it sounds like Mac could be back. Again, it's not 100% a certainty yet, but from what people are saying, the way he looked at practice, I'm expecting him to be back, but it's not officially official. Texans at the Raiders. Raiders minus 7, Ramie.
No, I'm not taking the Raiders minus 7. I'm not going to pick the Raiders to beat anybody by 7. They're going to win this game, but by 7? No, I'm not taking the Raiders minus 7.
You know what's funny is I thought the complete opposite. If the Raiders don't beat the Texans by 7, then the Raiders season is over, which I think it's already over. But the fact of the matter is, I thought the Texans would be a lot better. They have not been. I thought Davis Mills would be a lot better. He has not been. I'm going with the Raiders.
All right.
Raiders are going to drag the Texans this week on their way to becoming a 500 team next month.
All right. Oh yeah, that was one of your on the record.
Him and Nick. Nick is on the record some kind of way by Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I'm going with the Texans getting the 7. Waller is going to be out. Renfro is questionable. He was limited today in practice. I think Houston will focus on the run and try to slow Josh Jacobs down. So I think Vegas wins, but I don't think they cover. All right, the game of the weekend, fellas. We're all excited. Every single one of us is excited to watch this football game on Sunday. It's the Chiefs at the Niners, and the Chiefs are actually a road favorite. It's Chiefs minus 2.5 at the 49ers. Ramie, what say you?
And this is irrelevant to our picks. Did this line come out before the 49ers injury situation took a turn for the better? Because that's surprising to me that the Chiefs would be favored on the road.
Yeah. I pulled this number last night, so It was, yes.
That number might be moving, but as of today, minus 2.5. I think not only do the 49ers cover the 2.5, I think the 49ers win this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I got to take the 49ers. I think the Niners play the Chiefs pretty well. It's been shown, it's seen, it's been proven. The only thing that worries me about it is Mr. Womack and Mr. Lenore Demo on the outside. If they can hold up against the Chiefs wide receivers, which I believe they can, no Tyreek Hill being there, I think the Niners win this game as well.
I'm taking the Kansas City Mahomes to beat the Niners on the road.
All right.
Verlad's taking the GOAT, as he's told us. Patrick Mahomes, greatest athlete of all time, I think.
Greatest athlete of all time. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think you need to just stop it. I think greatest person of all time.
Greatest person.
Okay.
Greatest walking human. Greatest human on the planet.
He's got Super Bowls, Nobel Peace Prizes. I mean, this thing is fixed it all.
That man a Pulitzer.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs minus 2.5. This is such a tough game. I think it's gonna be close. But is Patrick Mahomes going to lose back-to-back close games? Like they lost at home to Buffalo last weekend. It's so difficult for me to pick against Mahomes and believe that this team loses in 2 straight weeks. I think it could be higher scoring than anticipated, though. Again, as I said earlier in the show, this Chiefs defense hasn't been very good. So don't be surprised if Jimmy G comes up with a couple of big plays. This Kansas City defense has given up a lot of big plays in the passing game, so do not be surprised by that. But I'll take the Chiefs minus 2.5, and hopefully the game is as good as we think it's going to be. There you go, NFL picks in the books. Week 7 already. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Of course, you can follow us all on Twitter, and you can follow the brand on Twitter as well at Sactown 1140. So check out the Twitter world. How significantly can Run CMC impact this 49ers team? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell.
Cordell flagship.
Ball game, Sacramento wins.
KHTK AM and HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, Sactown Sports 1140, the flagship station of your Sacramento Kings. Sactown Sports headlines.
Friday brings good news. That's right. The 49ers, who have been ravaged by injuries, received good news today. The team is expected to have 4 of their starters back for Sunday's game against the Chiefs. Both starting tackles Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. Not so good news for Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had another setback in his return from the offseason surgery. This time, Dobbins will need to have another surgery on the same left knee and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks following the surgery. In Denver, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson will be a game-time decision. Brett Rippon will be the starter if Wilson can't go. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field, Game 3 of the NLCS between the Padres and the Phillies kick off at 4:37. Joe Musgrove will take the bump for San Diego, while Ranger Suarez will take the ball for Philadelphia. The series is tied at 1 game apiece. Those are your Sactown Sports headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. It's 4 o'clock, which means more of the Cattles and Ramie show. That's coming up right now.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Second hour of the radio program on this Friday. How y'all doing? Hopefully very well. A lot to talk to. Not to talk to? No, a lot to talk about. That's what he meant to say. We've got the Run CMC trade we discussed. We talked about the Chiefs-Niners game coming up on Sunday. We had Frankie Cardicelli to talk Kings last hour as well. And now we move along with even more to talk about. We go back. Let's circle back to this Run CMC trade, Ramie. Run CMC is officially a San Francisco 49er. Here's Adam Schefter from ESPN.
The trade is now official. Christian McCaffrey arrived in San Francisco earlier today, has passed his physical with the 49ers. He has been assigned number 23, one up from the 22 he wore in Carolina. And now the question will become, does he play on Sunday versus the Kansas City Chiefs? Kyle Shanahan said that decision is still up in the air, hasn't decided, but right now the 49ers are just happy to have worked out this deal and beaten out the Los Angeles Rams for the services of Christian McCaffrey.
So wait a minute. He just brought up the Rams. They beat the Rams. They beat out the Rams for Christian McCaffrey. Here's more from Schefter on just that.
The 49ers and Rams have gone head-to-head, vying for so many of the same players. Both teams were interested in Matthew Stafford. The Rams got him. Both teams were interested in Odell Beckham Jr. The Rams got him. Both teams were interested in Christian McCaffrey. This time, the 49ers prevailed. And so Christian McCaffrey's last game as a Carolina Panther came against the Los Angeles Rams. And if he doesn't play this Sunday, his first game for the 49ers will also be against the Los Angeles Rams.
You do wonder whether or not the Niners would have paid as much as they paid for Run CMC if it wasn't for the fact that the Rams were involved in these conversations. I don't know. It's speculation. It's something that will probably never be answered. As far as McCaffrey goes, here's his new head coach, Kyle Shanahan, discussing what he has seen from McCaffrey on KNBR.
But watching him this year, he's back to his full health. Looks like the same guy as coming out of college. And I know we got a tough guy who handles it right, who takes care of his body as good as anyone can. I put him on that Bosa type level, and just that he's been kind of the way he was raised, the way he's looked at everything. I mean, it's just 100% commitment to being the best he can be at what he does. And he's been doing that since he was probably 3 years old.
Now, Ramie, strictly talking about the price, you and I both thought that the Niners overpaid with this trade, but that's not to say anything about the player. We're not saying that Christian McCaffrey is not very good when he's healthy. Just looking at the price, we think it was an overpay. Now let's look at the player and the impact, Ramie. how much impact do you think this guy makes on this team right away?
I think the big picture impact, going back to the first thing you brought up, Nick, about beating out the Rams for him when, as Schefter laid out, the Rams have seemingly beat out the 49ers for players they both have wanted in the past. I think that's a big deal. I think that the first step in winning a Super Bowl is getting into the playoffs, and the preferred path to the playoffs is a division championship, and hopefully good enough that you get a bye. So I think that's a big deal that you beat out your primary competition for this guy. On the field, though, everybody's talking about what he does for the running game, Nick. I'm most fascinated by and most intrigued by what he can do for the passing game, because we know where Jimmy Garoppolo does most of his damage is on the first and second level and over the middle of the field. And Christian McCaffrey is a guy that's very, very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. And like the rest of the 49ers weapons, he's known to do things with the ball once he gets it in his hands and lots of yards after the catch. And it's a pick your poison type of situation for opposing defenses when it comes to playing against the 49ers, as much as it is any other team in the league now. When you're talking about Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, you have to decide who you're going to try and stop, and hope that one-on-one matchups can stop one or two of the other guys out of that foursome. It's a lot for Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo to work with now, Nick. And I'm really intrigued by it, man, and the home run potential that I mentioned earlier that Christian McCaffrey brings to the table, and the ability to change any game on just one play. I think it's a significant upgrade in both the run and pass game for the 49ers.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. We'll be discussing De'Aaron Fox in 10 minutes from right now, so we'll have some Fox talk in 10 minutes. But to get back to this idea of the impact that CMC can make, look, if healthy, I agree with you, Ramie, significant impact. This guy is easily one of the best running backs in football when he's healthy. It's the dual threat. We talk about quarterbacks all the time with their ability to be dual threat, right? Well, he's a dual threat running back because he is such a weapon as a receiver. He is likely the best receiving running back in football. He's a very good route runner for being a running back. So, you're talking top 3 running back. And with that wide receiver ability, Ramie, I agree as far as how much depth when you look at these weapons, when you've got Deebo and McCaffrey and Ayuk and, don't forget Juszczyk, who's a huge weapon in this offense. George Kittle, he got going a little bit last weekend after a very slow start that had us somewhat concerned. But the wide receiver ability for McCaffrey, that brings in creativity. And as a play caller, here's what I want to see, okay? We've talked about Kyle Shanahan over and over and over again about being conservative. We've talked about him running his scheme and how it's almost predictable. It's been effective, not as effective this year as in past years. But what I want to see now is I want to see Kyle Shanahan with all of the weapons that he has at his disposal with this offense. It's time to step up, Kyle. It's time for you to step up. It's time to be creative. It's time to use McCaffrey in different ways. You spent a bunch of picks on this guy. You get the most out of his ability because you haven't always done that with your best weapons. There's been too many weeks where Deebo has been somewhat, quiet. Kittle's been somewhat quiet. Man, you got a lot of shiny toys now. You just walked in to the toy store and you bought out an entire aisle. It's up to the head coach and play caller now, Ramie, to get the most out of this because I think both you and I think a lot of people on YouTube, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, I think a lot of people are excited about this move because of what McCaffrey brings to the field. But it is ultimately up to Shanahan to utilize these guys at the best of their ability and to make this offense fun, creative, and incredibly productive.
Yeah, there are no excuses for Kyle Shanahan now and for this offense to sputter, unless there are more injuries down the road, and that's always a possibility in this sport. But there are no excuses for him here, Nick. I will say this, and it is frustrating watching the 49ers and going, man, why is George Kittle non-existent in this game? Or why is Deebo Samuel only got 4 receptions and we're in the third quarter? And not to say that Kyle Shanahan can't do a better job of getting everybody involved and making sure all those guys eat on a week-to-week basis. But it's also, I think, a product of defenses that either have good matchups and have a guy that can stay with the George Kittle or can stay with the Deebo Samuel, or it's just a matter of defenses going, all right, Debo's not going to beat us this week. We're gonna if George Kittle is going to get it, George Kittle is going to get it. If Brandon Ayuk is going to get it, he's going to get it. But Debo's not going to beat us this week. And if an NFL team does that, I mean, it's pretty hard to scheme against that, Nick. And then you just take what a defense is giving you. I think there is a product of that, but now it just becomes that much harder because it's another guy that you have to look at and go, all right, is he the guy that we're game planning for? Is McCaffrey the guy that we're trying to stop? And if it is, now you have 3 other game changers, not just 2, but 3 other game changers that Jimmy Garoppolo has to look to. I agree with you. There are no excuses for Kyle Shanahan at this point with the veteran at quarterback, with all these weapons at his disposal. Nick, I was thinking about it today. I don't know if there is a better foursome, I guess is the best word for it, of talented skill position players on an offense anywhere in this league. And that's not even talking about having maybe the best left tackle in football with Trent Williams. But I don't know if there's a better foursome of playmakers and game changers at a skill position on an offense in this entire league.
The 4 horsemen, print the T-shirts. We might get in trouble for it, but print the T-shirts. So when you look at, you look up and down the statistics here for the Niners offense and what I'm talking about, when you see third down conversion percentage, they're in the middle of the pack, third down offense. They're at the bottom of the league, fourth down offense. Not a surprise because Captain Conservative Kyle Shanahan hates going for it on fourth down. Maybe, just maybe, he'll grab his britches and realize that he's got some weapons now and go for it more and be a little bit more aggressive. In the red zone, Ramie, they're 14th in the league. Again, pretty much middle of the pack. You cannot give me middle of the pack results with this offense any longer with the weapons that you have. If you're stuck in the middle in all of these categories, it means that you're doing something wrong as the play caller. And on top of that, no excuses for Kyle Shanahan, no excuses for Jimmy G. There's no excuses for the quarterback. Trent Williams is back this weekend. McGlinchey is going to play. He's fine. He's back from the calf. You've got your offensive line in front of you now. You've got all of these weapons surrounding you. You've been in the system for a long time. You have this offensive play caller that a lot of people wax poetic about, saying he's the best play caller or one of the best play callers in the NFL. If all of that is correct, and even if most of that is correct, Jimmy G got to stand up. And Jimmy G can't have 3 really good games and then 2 poopers. Jimmy G can't go out there and throw for 100 yards and turn the football over a couple times. This guy has to play really good football because there is absolutely zero excuse for Garoppolo to be mediocre at any point now the rest of this season.
I mean,
at any point.
Is it an excuse to just say that's who he is, man? He's not better than that. Like to expect Jimmy Garoppolo to take his game great. But to expect him to take his game to another level. Now he can be better. He can be better, and he should be. When he has another weapon like a Christian McCaffrey, he can be better, and he should be. But don't expect a whole nother level of play.
I'm not saying he's going to become Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's going to come. What I'm saying is he has to be above average. You cannot have multiple stinkers with this offense. You just can't. Especially with Williams back. So, no excuses for him, no excuses for Shanahan. Both of them now, the pressure is squarely on them to make the most out of this offense because they have a lot of weapons, and this should be an exciting football team to watch. And if it's not an exciting football team to watch, it's because of those 2 guys. It's not because of Ayuk and Samuel and Kittle and McCaffrey. It's not because of that. It's because of Shanahan and Garoppolo. If this offense doesn't do what we expect it to do, it should be an excellent offense for the rest of this year, and Garoppolo has to be at least above average. Time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone line is 1-800-920-1140. YouTube people, how y'all doing? Give you a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. And subscribe at youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. All right, we're going to switch gears here. Go back to talking some Kings. What did Ramie and I take away from a great Sam Amick article on De'Aaron Fox that came out earlier today? Find out in 90 seconds.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Ramie. Interviews, podcasts, and more. They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave, and listen, even though it may not feel like it sometimes, fall is officially here. The weather may be a little bit uncomfortable, too warm for me. 1 minute it's cool and raining. I love that. But the next day it's hot and sunny. What can make you comfortable inside, though, is knowing your AC and furnace will be working properly and efficiently for whatever temperature it is outside. Take advantage of American Energy's $49 AC or furnace 30-point tune-up today. Make sure you and your family are ready for the changing weather. 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com. Tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
Servicing your vehicle has never been so easy. At Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda. Schedule your next service appointment anytime, anywhere at StocktonHonda.com. It only takes a minute to schedule, and our award-winning service team will have you back on the road in no time. Oil changes, tires, parts, and more.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Just two guys rubbing elbows, talking sports, and lots of other stuff.
They always keep you on edge. That's really crazy interesting.
It's Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, 1140.
Sam Amick, our friend here at Sactown Sports, had a great article on De'Aaron Fox today at The Athletic. You want to check it out. Before Ramie and I tell you what we took from this article, I want to tell you about the Kings Recap Show. Sactown Sports Kings Recap Show happening tomorrow night following Clippers and the Kings at Golden 1. And then on Sunday, also following the Warriors and the Kings at Golden State. Ramie makes his Kings Recap Show debut, so
Yes,
be
sir.
excited about that. Ramie, you're tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night, so the Mackloff Magic will be working for him.
There you, if they win, I want somebody to count how many times Ramie says Mackloff Magic during the recap show. I want an official Mackloff Magic count. It's got 10, 20, 30. So check it out tomorrow night. Again, immediately following Clippers, Kings at Golden 1, YouTube.com, Sactown Sports, 1140. Chris Watkins has you on Sunday night. And Chris also has you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., Kings Weekly with Chris Watkins. All right, before we get into the Amick article, Ramie, let's first listen to Fox talk about his summer and how much he loved this past summer.
This is the best summer of my life, like bar none. Yeah. I mean, I was getting married to, Mike, and then bringing in Luke, who are people that Rashay worked with. And as far as summer of basketball, it's the best summer of basketball I feel like I've had since I've been in the league. Just everything's coming together. And like I said, and I've called Sacramento home for the last 5 years. And just being able to change and see change is something that's great. And I think that from my life to on the basketball court, I feel like everything's changing, and I feel like it's changing for the better for sure.
So Foxy, with all the feels about his summer, well, it's kind of funny. It sounded like he said he married Brown.
That's what I thought at first too.
Speaking of Coach Brown, here's what he had to say about his point guard.
I'm excited that the potential's there. He's first of all, he's a remarkable young man. I mean, going down there during the playoffs was fun, getting a chance to know him and hanging with his family. Going to his and Rashay's wedding this summer was another treat for me.
How was that wedding, by the way?
Unbelievable. It was an unbelievable, probably the grandest wedding I've ever been a part of. It was fantastic. But going and hanging with them there, getting to know his extended family there was a lot of fun, and just knowing the potential that he has and seeing it back in high school at Adidas Nations, and then also seeing it in flashes out here when we're playing pickup.
So there was Coach Brown talking about De'Aaron Fox. So Ramie, again, Sam Amick wrote a great article today at The Athletic. What was your number one takeaway?
That De'Aaron Fox finally believes in the organization. That all the uncertainty, all the instability of the Sacramento Kings over the years, Nick, I think wore on this guy and probably drove him to be not the best version of De'Aaron Fox at least in the workplace. I'm not saying anything about him personally, but at least in the workplace, not the best version of himself that he could be, which can happen to anybody in any workplace. If you don't believe in what you're going in and doing every day, you don't believe in the people that are supposed to be leading you, you don't believe in the people that are around you, it's hard to come in and give 100% and be the best version of yourself on the job every day. And I think that happened to De'Aaron Fox. And I think bringing in Mike Brown, seeing the commitment that they made to Fox himself with the trade they made at the deadline last year, I think that this guy finally believes in what's going on here in Sacramento and isn't waiting for the next shoe to drop, whether it's a change in the front office or whether it's a change with the coach or whether it's a major shakeup of the roster. I think he believes in what they put together this season and that it's something that can last. And that has him feeling a lot better about his place in the organization. And I don't want to put too much in one game, but we saw a guy who looked motivated, who looked driven, who looked like he enjoyed and loved what he was doing in that opener on Wednesday night, Nick. I think that De'Aaron Fox is in the right headspace, if nothing else.
I love that your takeaway was that Fox believes in the organization, because my number one takeaway was how much belief from this front office and team they have in Fox. I mean, when you read this, first of all, Mike Brown goes out. He has dinner with Fox right away. They talk about buy-in, and they're having constant conversations, which again tells you that by far this is the number one guy on this team and that they need him to buy in, and that was the most critical part of the offseason. Then they talk about him playing off the ball like Steph Curry does in Golden State and trying to get more out of his offensive game and believing they can get more out of his offensive game. They get into this idea about these weight calculations where apparently they analytically looked at his weight and whether or not, he played better at 200 pounds or 185. And they realized that last year when he showed up to camp at 200 pounds, he was not at his best. He plays much better at around 185. And there's even more. Just an excerpt from the Amick article when he writes about Fox. He says, as Kings officials see it, still all sorts of evidence that Fox's best basketball remains ahead. They talk about his performance in the pandemic-shortened campaign when, he averaged 25 points, 7 assists, 3.5 rebounds, by the way. That was 15th in the NBA in points per game. Then Amick writes about how Fox played post-Halliburton trade and said when you look at those statistics, almost 29 points a game, 7 assists, 4 rebounds in those 15 games after Sabonis came over. Then there was the Halliburton part of this article, which I found fascinating. Amick wrote, for all of Halliburton's indisputable talents, there was a strong sense internally that his imperfect fit with Fox would ultimately be a detriment to them both. And in Sabonis, they landed a young former All-Star who would better complement Fox. So there it is in black and white. They did not think that Fox and Halliburton could work together. They thought that it was going to be detrimental to both guys. They thought they could get much more out of Fox than they were getting. So they made the decision to bring in Sabonis as a better fit around Fox. And Amick also writes, the prevailing theme of this Kings season is clear. Help Fox have the best two-way season of his career. This is a team, and I mentioned this when they decided to not draft Jaden Ivey. It is completely plausible that they thought Keegan Murray was going to be the better player, and they drafted Keegan because he helped right now more than Ivy would, and they thought that he was better than Ivy. But I also believe, Ramie, part of that conversation was, and I feel even more confident in this after reading Amick today on that Halliburton thing, they did not want to put anybody in the way of De'Aaron Fox. They believe that Fox is a guy who could score 27, 28 a game. They believe Fox is a 1A, and they were going to do everything within their power this offseason to support him and see if he can make that happen.
Yeah, they're clearly going all in on De'Aaron Fox. And I don't know, Nick, if they, because of how talented both those guys are, Halliburton and Fox, and them coming to the conclusion that they're holding each other back, that they can't, that they're both going to be a detriment to each other, as Amick said in the article. Maybe they shopped both guys around and thought, let's see who we can get the most for, and the other one is who we're going to build around. But De'Aaron Fox is the one who ended up staying, and you're right, Nick. You look at what they've done around him. This is about bringing out the best in De'Aaron Fox. They're looking for guys that fit with his game and that bring out the best in him and who he can bring the best out in terms of the fit in their game and what they do on the court. You're right that they've 100% invested in De'Aaron Fox and making him that guy or that dude, as I like to say, for the Sacramento Kings.
Which is smart. It's good business from Monte McNair because you know you're likely not going to get the return that you want because of his contract situation. So, you know, you look at it and you say, well, if we're going to keep this guy and he's going to be our number one, we have to do everything within our power to support him. And I think that's exactly what they've done. And now it's up to the team and it's up to Fox and it's up to Brown to, you know, get the most out of him. And, you know, Wednesday, aside from the turnovers, as I said yesterday, was a fantastic start at doing just that. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Don't forget that the second-ranked Sacramento State football team plays tomorrow night versus Montana, 8 p.m. kickoff at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Again, it's hornetsports.com to get those tickets. Did the 49ers overpay for Christian McCaffrey? Jennifer Lee Chan will join us next to discuss that and much more.
Cattles and Ramie.
starters back for Sunday's game against the Chiefs. Both starting tackles Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. Not so good news for Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had another setback in his return from the offseason surgery. This time, Dobbins will need to have another surgery on the same left knee and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks following the surgery. In Denver, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson will be a game-time decision. Brett Rippon will be the starter if Wilson can't go. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field, Game 3 of the NLCS between the Padres and the Phillies kick off at 4:37. Joe Musgrove will take the bump for San Diego, while Ranger Suarez will take the ball for Philadelphia. The series is tied at 1 game apiece. Those are your Sactown Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Double J Johnson. Coming up, Jennifer Lee Chan of the NBC Sports Bay Area.
We are efforting to get a hold of Jennifer Lee Chan from NBC Sports Bay Area, who will hopefully join us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. And, Ramie, as we wait to get a hold of Jennifer Lee Chan, we're talking about De'Aaron Fox and what it all meant, the article that was written by Sam Amick in The Athletic today. And I thought you brought up a good point about surrounding Fox with the right kind of players. And that's, we've been talking about that during the offseason, this idea that he wasn't always supported. And I think it's a tricky calculation to make, trying to figure out who De'Aaron Fox is as an NBA player and what his absolute ceiling could be on a night in and night out basis, given the circumstances that he has been dealt. And that is not an excuse. There are reasons, and then there are excuses. The fact that he has not had a consistent coaching staff with good structure around him, the fact that he has not had the greatest supporting cast and not much depth, all of that, I think, weighs in on it. It's like a young quarterback going through different offensive coordinators and having a terrible offensive line.
And part of that is the Kings being honest with him. You know what I mean? In terms of bringing out the best in De'Aaron Fox. It's not all about like propping him up and coddling him and putting all the right pieces around him. The part about them telling him, hey, look, you came in too heavy last year. And when I first read that, Nick, I was like, wait a minute, De'Aaron Fox? I don't remember De'Aaron Fox coming in chunky like a James Harden. I don't remember. But it was muscle weight that he put on. He bulked up to 200, and they showed him the stats and the data that he's better somewhere between 185 and 190, I think, as they said, where his best playing weight is. So they've really gone all in all departments in supporting De'Aaron Fox, and I think he sees that. I think he senses that, and he believes in it. And when you believe, you're willing to listen when people say stuff like, hey, come in lighter, even if it means you're have a little less muscle and you're a little stronger, you're better when you're lighter. You might not believe that or buy into it if you don't believe in the organization that you're playing for and what they're doing in terms of the big picture.
It's going to be interesting to kind of evaluate his early part of this season, especially defensively, because as we've talked about, Fox is a guy that he has even admitted that he gets more up defensively for some of the bigger named players in the league. And so Wednesday night, he had Dame Dalla. You would expect him to be engaged defensively. Tomorrow night, he's got John Wall. You would expect him to be engaged defensively. Sunday night, obviously, he has Steph Curry. Same thing kind of, exists there about him stepping up and trying to defend, consistently. And so you look at the beginning of this schedule, which we've talked about being very difficult. You've got a number of some of the best teams in the league that the Kings will be playing here in the first 10 games. And many of them have, backcourts that could bother you. Kyle Lowry, I think, has lost a step, but he's still considered pretty good in Miami. You have John Morant coming up, 6 days away. John Morant visits Golden One next Thursday night. So you look at some of these matchups, I would at least anticipate De'Aaron Fox, being engaged defensively and being at his best, because he's going to be staring across the court and facing somebody that is really freaking good at the game of basketball.
He was fun to watch on Wednesday night, man. He was really fun to watch. And, I know Dame Lillard is still recovering from the injury, but even in a game with Dame Lillard, I don't know about you, Nick, De'Aaron Fox was the most entertaining player on that court. He was the best and most entertaining player on that court for that night. We saw some moments of Dame time, you know what I mean? But over the course of 4 quarters, I know they came out on the wrong end of the scoreboard. I thought De'Aaron Fox was really, really fun to watch on Wednesday night.
And a part of that is we had Frankie Cardicelli on the show earlier on, and you could check out that interview at SactownSports.com, the podcast page here on Cattles and Ramie. We talked with Frankie, and Frankie, I asked Frankie what was up with Domas, because Domas got off to a slow start on Wednesday night. Didn't look like himself. And Frankie talked about how Domas was not getting the basketball at the elbow as much. He wasn't getting it at the free throw line extended as much. And it was a lot of Fox early on. And so you wonder, you look back at that game on Wednesday night, how much do you change that? Does Fox have the basketball less? Because when Sabonis got traded here last year, they ran the offense through Sabonis, which I expect them to do again this season. But that's why, in the article with Sam Amick, it's brought up, hey, play off of the ball. And we've seen Fox, as I said yesterday, the biggest thing for me from that game on Wednesday night was Fox shooting the basketball. If you tell me De'Aaron Fox can shoot 36% or so from three-point land, and he shoots it well, catch and shoot, that impacts this offense. I do want to jump to the Niners here because we talked about this to start the show. Run CMC is Bay-bound. Of course, as we know now, Christian McCaffrey is the newest member of the Niners. And you and I thought that they overpaid. We like the player. We love the player. But in a vacuum, we both said we thought that they overpaid. It's interesting, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, just seeing some of the conversation in there. Mr. NorCal said that the 49ers did not overpay at all. And then Adam L. later on says the Niners got fleeced. So the complete opposite opinion about how this trade went. But I do think that this was an overpay given the position. But that doesn't mean that I don't expect and you don't expect. It doesn't mean we don't expect Christian McCaffrey to pay big dividends if he stays healthy. He should be excellent in this offense.
He's going to make a huge impact. And Nick, I think they overpaid, but I'm okay with overpaying. I feel like sometimes you can overpay, and that's all right. Every once in a while, I'll splurge on an expensive dinner. I don't make expensive dinner money, but every once in a while, I'll just go splurge on an expensive dinner. It's just the right time, right place. I think where the 49ers are right now, right time, right place to go and splurge on a Christian McCaffrey. I don't think you're risking all that much when you talk about your future because of the core of this team, and you're handing it over to Trey Lance next year anyways. And I just think, Christian McCaffrey makes a huge impact on this offense if he can stay healthy. And we haven't seen him for a sample size of a full season healthy, but if he's still the same run CMC that we saw in 2018, 2019, then that's a huge, huge playmaker that you just added to your football team. Sammy making an appearance on the Cattles and Ramie show on the YouTube.
Oh, did
page.
you see her?
I see her right now. I'm looking at her right now.
She's in the corner.
Yeah.
She's playing with her bone. Mom's not home right now, so I'm completely ready for when Mom walks to the front door. Sammy's gonna lose it. So if you hear barking, just be ready for it. By the way, Jennifer Lee Chan will not be joining us today. She her schedule with Matt Mayoko. They're still shooting over there at NBC Sports Bay Area, so unable to join us today. It is what it is scheduling wise, but I will tell you, if she was on the phone with us, she would be on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So maybe we'll catch up with Jennifer Lee Chan next week and talk some 49ers football and react to a game that we're all looking forward to on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Niners. We'll discuss an elimination game on Sunday, and we'll also talk over-unders coming up next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by R.C. Willey Home Furnishing.
trying to get you home after another long day and through the drive time afternoon traffic. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, 1140.
So before we get to over-unders this week, Ramie, let's talk about this Raiders-Texans game. 2 one-win teams. And I think, yeah, we could talk about 2 one-win teams, but you absolutely feel different, or at least I do. I feel different about the Raiders than I do about the Texans, even though they have the same schedule.
Yeah.
You have to imagine that the Raiders are a better football team. As we get ready to talk about this game and then get to the over-unders, let's first hear from Josh McDaniels, who spoke earlier today on the health of 2 important guys, Hunter Renfrow and, of course, Darren Waller.
I'm hopeful that both of them are going to be positive. I think you'll see Hunter for sure. Today we'll see how Darren's doing, but I mean, I'm hoping we're moving in the right direction with both guys.
Hoping they're moving in the right direction on both guys. I can update this all for you right now. Renfrow is questionable. He was a limited participant in practice today, so Renfrow is questionable. Waller's out, so Waller will not play on Sunday. He is out. And Ramie, this is must win. This is an elimination game. If you fall to 1-5 by losing to a team that has only 1 win on the season, you're pretty much donezo. And if the Raiders lose this game at home, forget about it.
Yeah, if they lose this game at home, people kind of roll their eyes when you go, is Josh McDaniels already on the hot seat? If they lose this game at home to Houston, Josh McDaniels is on the hot seat, man. I got to believe he's that there's no way Mark Davis is sitting up in his box at the end of this game in Las Vegas with the Houston Texans on top and not questioning if he made the right choice at head coach for a team that made the playoffs last year, Nick, and added talent. And now we'll be sitting there at 1-6 and having lost to the Houston Texans, who aren't even trying to win football games at this point. This is definitely a game that they should win, even without Darren Waller and maybe without Hunter Renfrow. This is a game that they should win, but there have been plenty of games that they should win, Nick. I don't think that this football team collectively necessarily knows how to win. I want to just chalk this one up in the W column. You know what I mean? And I can't. Yeah. I can't do that necessarily with the Raiders. I should be able to do that against this Texans team when you look at the talent on paper, but I can't do that with the Raiders at this point. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the Raiders are already cooked, done, cancel Christmas, kiss the baby. But if this is a game where whoever loses is definitely out of the playoff picture.
Interesting because they're coming off of a bye week, right? And this has been a team that has found ways to lose. We talked about it last week, just finding ways to lose, or 2 weeks ago. And now they have a chance to kind of resettle themselves. You've had your bye week. But, I mean, Waller being not available after a bye week is very troublesome to me. I mean, that means this guy wasn't healthy enough to get through it. So you got to keep an eye on Waller. He was banged up an awful lot recently. So, keep an eye on him. And if Renfro's out, that's going to make it difficult. I mean, the Houston defense has played reasonably well, given the anticipation and the expectation for them. Davis Mills has not played well. He's 30th in the league in QBR, so he's been trash. And really one of the most important things in this game, I think, is going to be red zone. Josh McDaniels and this Raiders offense has had a terrible time finishing drives. They're 25th in the league in red zone offense. And, this could be very interesting to watch play out because Houston's been really good in the red zone. So can they keep it tight? That's going to be the ultimate question, because if Houston can make sure that the Raiders aren't finishing drives and they keep it tight, now the Raiders are going to start thinking, right? We have found ways to lose games this season. It's a tight game at home against a team we should be beating. Do they start to depress a little bit and feel that anxiety? I think what they have to do, to me, Ramie, is run the football. And here was Derek Carr talking about Josh Jacobs this week.
He's running extremely violent, and when and not just the physicality, but his cuts are violent. His mentality is violent. You see when he gets in the open field, we all know he can make people miss and stuff like that. But you've seen a couple of times in the last couple of weeks him eye the safety out and say, here I come, and he's going to do it play after play after play, and more power to him. I'm glad he's doing that, not me. Yeah, I don't know how he does it. It's really impressive.
I love that. running violent. He's running violent. I absolutely love that statement from the quarterback. And Houston's run defense, Ramie, is not good. It's 29th in the league. This is a game, again, pound the rock, give it to Jacobs 25 times, make life easier for Derek Carr and the rest of that offense, run it down their throat, finish drives, and you should be good. The one dude I'd be concerned with if I were the Raiders, even though they've done a good job against the run this season, Dameon Pierce. I mean, statistically, the Raiders have done well against the run, but Dameon Pierce is coming on for Houston. He's a rookie running back. He's been really good, I think, 3 weeks in a row. So they just have to make sure they slow Pierce down. They get plenty of run game from Jacobs, and they finish the drives.
Yeah, they can, Nick. They can. They're better than this Houston Texans team. It's just a matter of, do they show up and play better than this Houston Texans team? Because you can't count on what's on paper and what they can do. Like when you look, like you said, the Houston Texans very bad against the run. The Josh Jacobs and the Raiders have been running the football very successfully. Sometimes it seems like Josh McDaniels just doesn't want to, just doesn't have much interest in running the ball. But if they do, they should be able to come out and pound this Houston Texans team and mix in a couple of big plays to Devontae Adams and the rest of the guys in between. It should be almost any time you're going against the Houston Texans and you were a playoff team last year, it should be an easy win. I would even go so far as to say, Nick, but I can't call anything an easy win when the Raiders have played the way that they've played to this point this season.
All right. Let's get to the NFL over-unders plus the college football game of the week over-under. We start with Bears, Patriots, Ramie, 39.5. That's a really, really low number.
It's not low enough, though, because the Bears' offense is involved. I'm taking the under.
I'm gonna go with the over. I think Fields will have a turnover or two. The Chicago run defense is really bad. I'd be surprised if the Patriots didn't run for like $150. So I'll go over. JJ, Chris, how about you guys?
I'll take the under. As you said, I think it's going to be a battle for the Bears to score, and I don't see the Patriots putting up more than 24. Give me the under.
I'm also taking the under. I think for this to go over, the Pats would need to score like 35.
Good. I'll pick up a game. By the way, what are the standings?
That would be you leading 14-8, Mr. Cattles, and then Ramie is 13-9. Me and Chris are tied at 10-12.
Ooh, Ramie's nipping at the heels. All right, this next game is Chiefs at the Niners, 48.5, Ramie.
That's a big number, I think.
Yeah.
But these are two good one really good offense in the Chiefs and an offense that can be very good with the 49ers and adding Christian McCaffrey. I'm taking the over.
I will go. I'll go over as well. Over 48.5. Both teams are going to score. Kansas City's defense isn't very good versus the pass, and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to go over.
I'm taking the under. This is a 24-21, 25-20. I'm taking the under. Give me the under.
I'm going under. I'm going over. I think Mahomes gets that on his own.
There you go. The greatest man on earth.
Okay.
The greatest man ever to walk the earth, right?
He's
Is that what you said?
Astronaut. He does it all.
Patrick Mahomes will individually put a 50 burger on the board. All right. Packers at the Commanders. Woof. 41.5, Ramie.
Oh, I don't know, man. It's a lot of points for two offenses that have been able to put up a lot of points. I'm gonna take the over. I think Aaron Rodgers is mad. And I think the Commanders are bad. I think they come out and they score close to 30, and then the Commanders just got to score 2 touchdowns, and we're over, right? I'm gonna take the over.
We got to speed it up. I'm going under. JJ, Chris,
I'm taking the under as well.
I'll take the over.
Ooh, when's the last time that Rodgers was in a game that you had that low for over under? I wonder. Browns at the Ravens, 45.5. Ramie,
under.
Yeah, I'm going under. I think the Ravens will put this on Jacoby Brissett. By the way, fantasy football owners, Mark Andrews questionable. J.K. Dobbins, it came out today. He's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. He's getting knee surgery, so that's going to hurt that Ravens run game. JJ and Chris.
Give me the under.
Under.
All right, and finally, this is fun. Number 9, UCLA at number 10, Oregon. 70.5 is the number, Ramie.
I'm going to say over with a question mark.
Over? Over? I'm going over. Both teams average more than 40 points a game. Chip Kelly, give me a shootout. Give me the points.
Yeah, I'll take the over too. DTR doing this thing, and Oregon always scores with points. Give me over.
All right, I'll take the under just to be different.
All right, there you go.
There it is.
The over-unders for week number 7. See how we do. Ramie and I doing pretty well there. I'm doing awful with picks. Ramie's doing good with picks, so he's 2 for 2 picks and over-unders.
I'm good at this.
This guy's on fire.
On fire.
Is it a good idea for the 49ers to copy the Rams' philosophy? We'll discuss that coming up.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell.
HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. Sactown Sports 1140. Sactown Sports headlines.
Friday brings good news. That's right. The 49ers, who have been ravaged by injuries, received good news today. The team is expected to have 4 of their starters back for Sunday's game against the Chiefs. Both starting tackles, Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. Not so good news for Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had another setback in his return from the offseason surgery. This time, Dobbins will need to have another surgery on the same left knee and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks following the surgery. In Denver, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson will be a game-time decision. Brett Rippon will be the starter if Wilson can't go. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field, we have action in an NLCS. At the moment, the Phillies lead the Padres 1-0 in the bottom of the first, thanks to a solo shot by Kyle Schwarber. Those are your Sactown Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cowles and Ramie Show.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cowles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Final hour of a long work week. And yes, I'm excited. 6 o'clock hits. I might do cartwheels when we get off the air today. It's been a little bit of a long week. It's been a long week for Ramie, too. How are you feeling today, big guy?
Better than yesterday for sure.
You sound better.
Thank you. The mornings are the worst.
Much better.
I don't know if it's like that with everybody when they get sick.
Yeah.
Early in the morning and late at night are the worst. But woke up this morning and quickly started feeling better.
Yeah, for me, the morning was pretty bad.
Right?
Also the afternoon and the night wasn't that great either.
All right.
Yeah, Verlad texted me this week. He was battling the poor guy. He was battling this week, but we're happy to have him back. Full team.
Full squad.
Hopefully next week, unless Ramie tests and all of a sudden, we have other issues next week. But right now, fingers crossed, we'll all be back together next week in the studio, which would be a lot of fun. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll have On the Record. We also want to talk some Keegan Murray and who he might replace in the starting lineup if/when he does get into that starting 5. But let's circle back. Let's go back to our Niners conversation, Ramie, because there's another angle to this Christian McCaffrey trade. Both Ramie and I believe that the Niners overpaid. I think I'll just say the stat one more time because it's crazy. The Niners have used 8 draft picks for the running back position since 2021 draft. So just think about that for a minute. 8 draft picks. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But with this trade, I saw a lot of people saying this, Ramie. I don't know if you agree with it or not, but look, the NFL is a copycat league. Whether it's on the field, off the field, draft approach, free agency approach, the NFL is a copycat league. And if one team is successful doing something, other teams are inevitably going to jump on that bandwagon and do what that team does. And that brings us to this trade and what the Niners gave up for Run CMC. And both Ramie and I love the player, just think it's an overpay. Love the player, don't love the price. But it's a copycat league. And you can look at it and think about the Rams and the full-on Rams approach. And the idea of just giving up picks. Let's go back to Les Snead at the celebration parade and what he said on that day.
Hey, here's what I know. The late John Madden said that winning the Super Bowl was the highest of high. So you know what? Our players, our coaches, Stan, his family, every one of us in the organization who support him on that mission, and everyone out there, you know what? We know what that highest high feels like today. Yeah. So in honor of the shirt, F them picks, we'll use them to go win more Super Bowls.
Yeah, bleep them picks. There he is. Listen, a little speculation on my part, but I think Les was feeling it that day, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
celebration parade. You could hear it in his voice.
Happy
he was feeling
juice
it a little
was
bit.
Flowing, for sure. Yes.
So let's look at the details again. So this trade, the Niners trade for Christian McCaffrey. The Panthers get a second-round pick in this coming draft, 3rd round pick in this coming draft, a 4th round pick in this coming draft, and a 5th round pick in 2024. To be fair, I want to give all the people that are listening and watching us on YouTube, I want to give you the correct context. The Niners did have 3 third-round picks in this coming draft. So they had 2 compensatory picks at the end of the 3rd round for Robert Saleh going to the Jets and Mike McDaniel going to the Dolphins. So they had 3 third-round picks before this trade. They will now have 2 third-round picks. So, but it's still a big haul. And Doug Kyde of Pro Football Focus, looking at the Jimmy Johnson equivalent sheet for the draft picks, it's equivalent to a first-round pick. So they gave up a first-round pick for Christian McCaffrey. In totality, they've given up 8 draft picks for the running back position in 2 years, which is insanity. But, Ramie, big picture, are you okay with the Rams' philosophy? Are you okay with the Niners following in the footsteps of that philosophy?
100%. 100% okay with it, Nick. For the position that the 49ers are in, yeah, absolutely, man. Because you don't get the chance to win a Super Bowl. A Super Bowl is fleeting. You don't know when it opens. You don't know how long it's going to last, and especially when you're handing it over to a first-time starter again in Trey Lance next year, presumably. You don't know if you're closing the window on your chance to win a Super Bowl right now. Why not? Why not? And the thing is, like, draft picks are an unknown. Even if you have the number 1 pick in the draft, plenty of those have busted. Outside of the injury question that comes with a Christian McCaffrey, you know what you're getting. Unknowns are fine when you're trying to build something. You've built something here in San Francisco. It's time to go and try and win a Super Bowl. And you said in hour 1, Nick, that now they have to win a Super Bowl to justify this move for Christian McCaffrey. And I never look at it that way. All I want from a team is when you're in position to win a Super Bowl, that you did everything that you could to do that. And then you just hope the chips fall in the right place, because you do everything that you can to control your fate and your destiny. And then there are certain things that are out of your control. And that's not to say that, Jimmy won't have a bad game, or we won't be talking about Kyle Shanahan and his coaching decisions if they do come up short of a Super Bowl. But ultimately, from a front office, big picture standpoint, you get all the controllables checked off and then hope that everything else falls into place. And I think the 49ers front office has done that with this Christian McCaffrey deal.
It's a tough question. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports on a Friday, and I'll tell you why it's tough. To me, some of it does depend on the situation and the circumstances that you're dealing with. And the first thing I would look at is the roster, right? Like, what is the roster composition? And I'm not just talking about having a chance to win a title. It is who is on the roster and how do the rest of the dominoes kind of fall into place. To me, trading for McCaffrey again was an overpay. I don't think you need to give up that much for a running back. But big picture, if you have a team and you feel like that team is a contender and you feel like you have a chance to go and win a championship, then I'm fine. I am absolutely fine with burning future assets to try to go win that championship. But with that said, I feel like we have a lot of nuanced conversations in this show today. But with that said, I think there's a line you have to draw. Like you can't just year after year after year after year keep pushing it in and just I think that's irresponsible. If you have a chance to make a run and you can add a piece and you have to overpay slightly for that piece, I'm fine with it. But if you're going crazy and you're trading, picks 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, I do think there is a line that you have to draw. And I feel like the Niners are pretty much at that line right now. I think you could afford an overpay, which I didn't love, but you can afford it right now. I don't think you can go back out there and keep adding more pieces and giving up more, because then you're going to be completely stripped of any kind of future in the next 3-4 years. And so there are a few things that stem from this decision that I think we all have to keep in mind. Lance has to work now. Like, to me, Trey Lance has to work. Trey Lance has to work because you're not going to be able to replenish at the quarterback position in the next couple of years because of your pick situation. So you are now like you're either going to pay Jimmy G the money after this season and trade Lance, or you're going to keep Trey Lance and just say he now has to work. And we are surrounding him with pieces, so he should work. But if he doesn't work, then they could be in some big trouble. Because look, as great as a lot of these pieces are on this team, if you don't have the quarterback, you don't have a chance. So Trey Lance now the pressure is on Trey Lance going into next year. The pressure is on Jimmy G right now, and we talked about it. The pressure is on Kyle Shanahan. So, you have a lot of free agents coming up this offseason. A lot of this team is entering into their free agency. How are they going to kind of replenish this roster? What can they do in the draft? Can they move down and add more picks? It makes it a little bit more difficult of a puzzle to piece together.
If you're starting over, you're starting over. And I know that there are different what's the word I'm looking for? There are different plateaus from which you can start. You can be way at the bottom. You could be in the middle somewhere when you decide to hit the reset button on your organization. But Nick, I think they're at least 2 or 3 years away from this window completely closing and then giving up on it and saying, all right, time for a new plan. You know what I mean? And when you look at these draft picks, we're only looking 2-3 years out ahead. They're not trading the future beyond that. So when you hit the reset button, the draft picks will be replenished. There will probably be players on this roster that are still of value to other teams in the NFL that you can trade to get draft picks like the Panthers just did with Christian McCaffrey. There will be ways to replenish the resources that go into the next phase and the next era of 49ers football. I don't think they sold the farm or sold down the line so much that this is going to affect the 49ers future. This plan is going to work or this plan is not going to work within the next 2 or 3 years.
It's funny, not in a ha-ha way. Like you just mentioned, 2-3 years. Again, that's if Trey works out. That's if their quarterback plan works out. Yeah. Because if you make the wrong decision at the quarterback position, we're going to have all the conversations we had this past offseason, next offseason, and now you have even more pressure on you because of what you've given up to supplement your quarterback and supplement the rest of this team. Again, whichever quarterback you pick, this year we know it's Jimmy G because of the injury. Jimmy G has to make it work. But next year, whoever that quarterback is, it's got to work. Because if it doesn't, all of this other stuff is for naught. If you don't find the secret recipe at the quarterback position, if you move on from Jimmy G. All guests on the show come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Thanks to Folsom Lake Honda for being a sponsor. We appreciate the business. On the record in 90 seconds.
Hey, Kings fans, you got questions? We got answers. Send all your Kings questions to kingsmailbag@sactownsports.com and have them answered by the Carmichael Dave Show with not TikTok. We're talking about predictions and guarantees. It's on the record.
But off the record, I can't stand those.
We will get to On the Record in a couple of minutes, but first, time to check out Cosi Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. I also wanted to get to some of this reaction on the text line. 916-339-1140. The Rams model worked. They won a Super Bowl. Yes, it worked for the Rams, and that's the point. Like, it has to work. If it doesn't work, then you're probably going to have to go through a couple of years of, resetting and some tough times, right? So it reminds me, again, being from New England and a Red Sox fan, it reminds me of Dave Dombrowski. Like, Dave Dombrowski is well known. He's doing the same thing with the Phillies. He did it with the Marlins. He did it with the Red Sox. Dave Dombrowski is known as a front office guy who goes in and he pretty much burns down your entire farm system to bring in big name players and signs them to long-term extensions, and then kind of you hope you win. And if you win, then people say, hey, it was worth it. And then you inevitably have to go through a period where you're not good for a couple of years. That's the Dave Dombrowski calling card. And that's what Les Snead is doing in L.A. So if it works for Lynch and Shanahan, then yes, great. Then there was another one, another text. I think they're trying to challenge me, and how dare you challenge me on facts, Ramie. They text in, Davis Price, Elijah Mitchell, Sermon are the only draft picks used on the running backs the last 2 years. Text line. I will share what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you broke this down earlier.
Yeah, the 8 draft picks. Here's what I'm talking about. Yes, Davis Price was picked. 3rd round pick. Sermon was a 3rd round pick. Mitchell was a 6th round pick. That is correct. That's the 3 picks, right? But they also used 2 picks to move up for Trey Sermon, and they just traded 4 picks for Christian McCaffrey. And I think there's another one mixed in somewhere with all of that bunch. So that's what I mean. They didn't draft 8 running backs. They invested 8 picks into the running back position when you include the trades as well. So I'll clarify that for the texter, because I probably didn't do the best job of clarifying it. I didn't mean they drafted 8 people. They used 8 picks to bring in running backs in assorted different ways. Also, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. TC, our guy TC says, I'll be honest, y'all, not 2 or 3 years for Kyle that he has the rest of this year. If he doesn't figure it out, he gone. And, we talked about the pressure on Shanahan on the field and to get the most out of this offense. But Ramie, TC's right. I mean, look, the part of this is like, you can go with this plan and the owner's going to allow you to go along, go with this plan and try to do what you have to do to win a championship. But the unsaid thing in the room in San Francisco is like, hey, man, if this don't work out, you're pretty much all gone. Like, if this doesn't work out, Shanahan will be gone eventually. Lynch will be gone eventually. And they'll say, we're going to reset with a new philosophy and a new head coach and a new front office.
If ownership decides that this thing isn't headed in the right direction, I think Lynch gets one more head coach, and Nick, they're too invested in some parts on this roster to completely blow it up from that standpoint anytime sooner than at least 2 or 3 more years. You might make a change at head coach, but the core of this team and this roster is what I'm talking about when I say that there's a 2 or 3 year window. That's going to be hard to get out of. You can get out of Shanahan. You could even get out of Lynch. But like I said,
yeah,
I think Lynch gets another head coach. And if they feel like they're not getting as much out of this roster that Lynch put together as they should be, then maybe Shanahan's time is up. But Lynch and the core of this roster is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. We'll talk some Kings basketball in about 10 minutes, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk some Keegan Murray. Again, Keegan Murray, the Kings will have some discussion about the Kings and this weekend coming up soon enough on this show in about 10 minutes. But let's get into our On the Record. I'll start off on the record. The Kings, speaking of the Kings, they will get a split this weekend. They will win one of the 2 games this weekend. They will be 1-2 come Monday. I'm looking at the Clippers game tomorrow night. They are not the biggest team. They get a lot of wings. They play a lot of wings. I think that's good for the Kings' chances here, because we've talked about kind of the lack of size for the Kings. Is Kawhi going to play? They have a back-to-back. The Clippers have a back-to-back like the Kings do. So will Kawhi play? I say the Kings get a split this weekend.
I'll go. I don't know if this is one step further. I will specifically say.
Hold on. What are we going to do? Is that a double for me?
Oh, sorry. I forgot that part of it. Yeah, I'll give you a double on that.
I hate that all of our on the records are going to be this game on Saturday.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So go ahead, Ramie.
Keegan Murray makes his debut, and the Kings beat the Clippers Saturday night.
No, that's a double.
Okay. Double.
Yeah, that's a double. Same thing.
Oh,
Single.
But they're winning. He gave.
They said they're winning. Yeah, I go double. I mean, if he's calling his shot, he's calling his shot against the Clippers.
I'm not just saying they get one of the two games. I'm saying specifically.
That's right.
They get tomorrow's game.
So there you have it. JJ, Chris?
All right. I'm going to go specifically with the Clippers games. I'm not saying that the Kings will just win. They're going to win, and they're going to win big by at least 8 points.
Whoa. Okay.
Whoa.
D Fox isn't going 0 from 11 from the field.
At least
Westbrook,
an 8 point.
Westbrook did last night. I mean, the Lakers were terrible, and the Clippers were just barely able to squeak that one out.
Westbrook, man, last night is unbelievable. He comes up with a really good stop against Kawhi, and then he comes down to the floor and he immediately jacks up a three, which he bricks. It's like, even when he does something good, he immediately ruins it with the Lakers.
He was 0 for the night last night, wasn't he?
Yeah, 0 for 11 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3.
And then exchanged some words. Then exchanged some words with a fan on his way off the field.
He's still a giant expiring contract.
Yes,
all right, JJ.
I don't hear JJ.
Got to turn me up there, brother.
Oh,
all right, there you go. I'm going to stay with the Kings. I'm going to say Keegan Murray is going to score 20 points in his NBA debut.
Okay.
I almost went there. With the 20 points. What do we give Chris, by the way? The win by 8 points.
Yeah, I would say
a
triple. Yeah.
I say triple. What do we? I'll give a triple to JJ too with the 20 points by Keegan. Let's give him a triple. All right, next one up for me. Got to run through this. Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans will win 45 games this season.
Whoa. You like what you saw from Zion, huh?
That's right. Seen enough.
All right.
45.
Okay.
What we got?
I'm going to go NLCS. Phillies.
What are we giving?
Hold on.
I'm sorry. I keep on doing that. I'm sorry.
This is
my bad. I know this is my bit. That's a home run.
I'll give it that.
Right? Pelicans winning 45 games. That's a home run.
I'll slide that way.
All right, let's go.
I'm going to try to manifest this just so we stop seeing those singing Padres fans. Phillies in 5. Phillies in 5 in the NLCS.
Ooh, I'll give you a triple.
Yeah, I'll give you a triple.
All right.
Cool. That means they got to sweep, right? They got to win the next 3?
Yes,
I'll give you a triple. I'll give you a triple. Yeah, I'll give you a triple.
All right, Chris.
All right, I'm going to stick with the NBA. The Lakers will not win in October.
Ooh. Hold on, I gotta look at their schedule. What are they playing?
That's a home run, no matter what.
Yeah, that's a home run. I don't care who. I don't even need to pull up the schedule. That's a home run. They're not going to win one game in October. This dude's swinging for the fences.
It's October 21st. We're not even on Halloween Eve.
Just swung out of his cleats. What do you mean? Hold
on. They play the Blazers, right? That's a winnable game, right? But then they play at Denver, they play at Minnesota, and then they play the Nuggets again.
Yeah, I still think that's a home run. That they're not going to win a game the whole month.
Doesn't matter. I'm outvoted anyway. You both think that it's a home run, so congratulations for Lod. You had a home run.
Beautiful. I'm sticking with this weekend. I'm going Christian McCaffrey will score a touchdown this week against the Chiefs.
Oh,
why are you cheating off my sheet, JJ?
Hey, well, I look over shoulders, man. Come on now.
Man,
I'll give that a triple.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna jump off that too. I got to run CMC one. Run CMC. I don't know if he debuts this weekend, but when he plays his first game for the Niners, I'll see JJ's touchdown, and I'll also add 150 total yards.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! Okay.
TD. That's a home run. TD and 150 total yards.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I'll take that though, Nick. Great manifestation. Thank you.
I wanted to take one home run swing here. I thought Christian McCaffrey playing and scoring a touchdown in this game on Sunday would be enough. I'm going to go one step further though. He'll play. He'll have 50 total yards or more. He'll score a touchdown in a 49ers victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. So McCaffrey 50 or more yards, touchdown, 49ers win.
Home run.
It's a parlay right there is what they call it.
Moving along.
Yes, sir.
Moving along. Let's keep it rolling.
All right, I think you're the only one that could judge this, Nick. I'm saying by the end of the year, MJF will be a babyface.
I'm going to go with a. I'm going to go with a. I think that's a single.
What? Is he a heel right now?
Man, he gave you nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, the way his promos are going. All right, I'll give you a double. I'll drop you up to a double. But I think it's going to happen. I think it's
like I said, it's a bloop on the line, and I'm just all out.
All right, I'm finishing up. I saw this today, and I thought about this. I thought about looking at this a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to say Ozzie Guillen will be the next manager for the Chicago White Sox.
That's a good bet.
Yeah, he's interviewing with
They're
them.
interviewing him next week. Yeah.
When I was doing, I'll give it a double since he's interviewing. When I was working for ESPN, I filled in for Will Kane one time, so I had to actually go to Bristol to fill in for him because it was on it was ESPN News, and Ozzy was there. He was working for ESPN at the time, and he was at the bar, and I was at the bar, and he was like off at a different table, and he was holding court. Everybody around him, he was Captain Entertainment. Everybody was laughing.
Everywhere he goes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was the life of the party. So there you have it on the record. Want to remind you, second-rate Sac State football tomorrow night, Montana, 8 p.m. kickoff at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com.
Can't wait.
Is there a starter not named KZ Okpala that could end up sitting for the Kings? Talk about that next.
Kings insiders Frankie Cardoselli and Chris Watkins give you
received good news today. The team is expected to have 4 of their starters back for Sunday's game against the Chiefs. Both starting tackles Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, and safety Jimmy Ward have all been cleared to return to game action. And in baseball, former San Francisco Giants manager and 3-time World Series champ Bruce Bochy, he agreed to become the new manager of the Texas Rangers, agreeing to a 3-year deal. On the field in the NLCS, we have a 1-0 score thanks to Kyle Schwarber's leadoff solo home run by the Phillies. That game is in the bottom of the second. In the NBA, there's tons of scores to report. The Pelicans lead the Hornets in the third quarter, 78-65. The Spurs lead the Pacers 78-61 in the third quarter. The Bulls are losing to the Wizards by 15, 65-50 in the third quarter. The Magic lead the Hawks by 4, 48-44 in the second. The Raptors lead the Nets by 7 in the second quarter, 47-40. And the Pistons are getting blown out by the Knicks in the second quarter, 55-32. Those are your Sactown Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie Show.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
Talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Want to remind all of you that all guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Before we get into some more Kings talk, let's give away a couple of tickets. Let's give away a couple of tickets for all of you out there. Not all of you, for one of you. we don't want to fill up the entire. Yeah, we can't fill up the entire Golden One with free tickets, folks. Pair of tickets to see Adam Sandler live at Golden One on December 7th. And again, you want to go see Adam Sandler live December 7th at Golden One. One lucky texter, 916-339-1140, 916-339-1140. Chris Ralad, what is the word?
Lunch lady.
Lunch lady. Lunch lady. Did we do that earlier in the week?
Really? I did the same one earlier in the week, yeah.
that proves my theory that Chris Ralad and Ramie almost share a brain 24/7.
Very much on the same wavelength.
It is crazy. Crazy. So let's go with Lunch Lady. We'll do it again. Might as well. It's a Friday. Lunch Lady, 916-339-1140. One lucky texter. If you text the word Lunch Lady into the text line, you win a pair of tickets to see Adam Sandler live at Golden One Center on December 7th. And, of course, you can go to SactownSports.com for more information. Should be a good show. You Adam Sandler fan, stand-up wise, Ramie?
Love Adam Sandler. Sandler. And his stand-up is more like a concert because he does songs and there are sketches. It's a whole show.
By the way, Adam L. jumps in on YouTube. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Adam says that MJF is going to be a face. But he says not until after the 2024 storyline, Vlad, if you were wondering. By the way, Ramie is hosting his first Sactown Sports Kings recap show tomorrow.
Sir.
You want to check it out immediately following Clippers and Kings tomorrow night from Golden One. Ramie will host that at the YouTube channel. And then Chris Watkins has you on Sunday night following Warriors Kings. So tomorrow, Ramie, Sunday, Chris, the Sactown Sports Kings recap show on our YouTube channel immediately following those games, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. So, we talked to Frankie Carticelli earlier in the show, Ramie, and he mentioned that KZ Okpala was rocking a second unit jersey. And so that's interesting. He was not playing with the starters today at practice. Might lead you to believe that KZ is going to come off of the bench. I thought it was a compelling, point that Frankie made, which is Kawhi Leonard came off the bench last night, and he's going to continue to come off the bench at least for a little while here. So maybe Mike Brown is going to mix and match and have Okpala defend Kawhi when Kawhi comes off of the bench. But look, I think all of us believe, whether it happens tomorrow night or within the next couple of weeks, that we will have Keegan Murray in the starting lineup. And yesterday we caught up with associate head coach Jordy Fernandez, and here's what Fernandez had to say about Keegan.
Keegan has the potential to do so. We believe in him. We want to do also what's best for him and the group. And we have no doubt in our minds that he'll be a huge part of our, winning in the future. So we're excited to go through the process with him and helping him.
It's interesting, Ramie, when you and I talked about Keegan eventually getting into the starting lineup, we always brought up KZ as the guy he would replace. But could it actually be Harrison Barnes? Is that an idea? Tim Maxwell tweeted out after the game on Wednesday, in 24 possessions while being guarded by Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Grant and Josh Hart combined to score 18 points. They shot 7 of 10 from the field. And Harrison, was always known as like a solid defender. Last year, however, he was the 5th worst in defensive rating in the entire NBA. So I ask you, is it possible? Could you entertain this idea of actually sitting Barnes instead of Okpala and starting Keegan for Barnes?
It's something we never considered, Nick, because I don't think you and I ever took Okpala seriously as a starter. You know what I mean? We just thought he was sort of the front for Mike Brown to make Keegan Murray earn the starting job. You know what I mean? But
right.
The more that you hear Mike Brown talk about Okpala, the more that you see him and his defense and what he brings out there to the court, I do think that Mike Brown really likes him and wants to have him on the floor in as big a role as he can have him on the floor. So I think that's why we never really talked about this possibility. But if it is for defensive purposes that you want Okpala in the starting lineup, I think Keegan Murray is going to be able to bring just as much offense to the table, if not more. I would hope more than what you get from Harrison Barnes. And on the defensive side, can he be any worse than what you just read off there? Can he be any worse than what you just? What did they say? 7 of 10 for 18 points.
Yes.
The people that Harrison Barnes guarded on Wednesday night. Not to come down too hard on Harrison Barnes, but man, maybe it's even better for him to come off the bench. You know what I mean? And sort of be the leader of that second unit. And he's still the veteran presence on this team. You're not diminishing him or doing away with him by any means, but maybe it is time for him to take a step back or a back seat. And that might be the starting 5 that I like best, honestly, Nick, when you lay it out there and I think about it, that might be the starting 5 I like best for the combination of offensive and defensive pieces that'll be on the floor at the same time.
I think you absolutely entertain the idea, but I still, for right now, still lean towards KZ. I think Barnes is a better fit with Sabonis and Fox offensively, and I think this team is going to win games off of their offense instead of, shutting teams down defensively. I think when Barnes is out there, you rely on team defense, and maybe it's just as simple as matchups as well, because one of the issues that Harrison has had, and especially this was the case last year, quick wings, like quick-footed wings, gave Barnes a lot of trouble. And so maybe you kind of just look at it, and dependent on matchup, you have Keegan playing no matter what, and then you say to yourself, okay, well, if the other wing player is kind of a quick get-to-the-basket kind of guy, if the quote-unquote 4, so to speak, in basketball terms is a little bit quicker and a little bit more of the stretch athletic guy versus the bigger, slower guy, then maybe you ride with KZ Okpala in those matchups because he has more versatility defensively. But I just overall, I just think that you start your best 5. And you start your best 5 players. You have no room for error with this team. This conference is tough. You have a playoff mandate. Start and end with your best 5. And you go from there. And if things look bad, then you can always change and evolve. And I also like KZ's energy coming off the bench. So I would still lean Okpala, but I absolutely think that we overlooked the idea of having HB at least be on the table to be to be sitting down at some point coming off of the bench. So we'll see what Coach Brown does this weekend. Clippers tomorrow night at Golden 1. Then Sunday night, the Kings travel to Golden State, a very tough back-to-back. Hopefully they're able to steal at least one game, and we're talking about 1 and 2 as we get ready for the Grizzlies and Ja Morant coming to town next week. It certainly doesn't get any easier next week with this schedule.
Real quick, Nick, our very own Frankie Cardicelli, who joined us at 3:30 for Fridays with Frankie, he said the Sacramento Kings have no players listed on tomorrow's injury report. Looks like Keegan Murray will make his NBA debut on Saturday night at Golden One Center. Join yours truly on the Kings recap show right afterwards on the Sactown Sports YouTube page.
And score 20.
And their 8-point win against the
That's right.
against the Clippers. Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic news though for Kings fans, man. It looks like, no injury report, no names on the injury report. So Keegan will be debuting tomorrow night against the Clippers at Golden One, and that crowd's going to be rocking tomorrow night, man. When Keegan's out there. So, and Ramie will be able to break down his debut and more on the Kings recap show. So all good stuff. We'll close out a very strange week for all of us with in other news coming up.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Sacramento.
Bill Stockton and Modesto online at goodfeet.com.
Did you catch all the week's headlines?
Check the headline. Check the headline. Here's the headline.
Hey, let the fellas fill you in on this week's In Other News.
Other news, very strange week for us this week. But as we get closer to the weekend, get the family together. Verlad's back. Ramie's feeling a little bit better.
Sure.
JJ's been good this entire time. You know, JJ's whole thing didn't really change. He had to do more work because Verlad was out. He had to really pick up the slack. But his routine didn't really change. He was good to go. So JJ fighting back. So we're all getting back together.
The pillar of the Cattles and Ramie show. JJ.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right. The pillar. All right, let's get to some in other news. I have a question for you, Ramie.
Yes, Nick.
If I was getting attacked by a bear, what would you do?
I want to say that I'd try and help you, but instinct kicks in, and I'm probably just running, dude. I hate to say it. I'm probably just running and screaming, somebody help Nick, a bear attacked him.
If I'm with Nick and he's getting attacked by a bear,
yeah,
that means I was faster than Nick.
You better not be with Chris, Nick.
That's fair.
I can see it. All three of you guys running in the opposite direction.
I would call for help.
Attacked by a bear.
I would call for help.
Oh, thanks.
No
You
problem,
call
dude.
911. Thank you.
No
Stay calm, Nick. Stay calm.
I would hope you would run with us, Nick, to be honest.
Nick, you'll be okay. You'll be all right, buddy. I ask you that question because a college wrestler from a small Wyoming school helped his teammates survive a grisly mauling over the weekend by trying to wrestle the massive bear off his friend, eventually drawing a more brutal attack to himself. The men are crediting their bonds as wrestling teammates. See, wrestlers, they're tight. Wrestling teammates at Northwest College in Cody, Wyoming, with helping them survive the attack. This happened last Saturday night at Yellowstone. Brad Lowry of Cedar City, Utah, suffered a broken arm and puncture wounds in the initial attack after they surprised the bear while searching for antlers shed by elk and deer.
See,
quote,
what are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? What are you out there looking for antlers shed by deer for? What's the point of that?
That's right. This is not the bear's fault.
No.
You impeded upon the bear's land.
Exactly.
So you got in the way. You were the one that got in the way. Quote, the bear came running out of the trees. I didn't even see it until it was right in front of me, but I heard the crashing, Lowry told ABC News. The only thing I could yell is bear, bear. I mean, nobody died, so we can laugh. I just knew I had to protect my head and just kind of fight for life, you know? It's life or death. And apparently his teammate, Kendall Cummings of Evanston, Wyoming, tried to stop the attack on Lowry by yelling, kicking, and hitting the bear and pulling on its fur.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, Nick. If you're getting attacked, I'm not kicking, punching, and pulling on the fur of an angry bear. That just ain't going to happen.
Cummings told KSL, the bear, quote, tackled me, chewed me up a bit. Unquote.
Oh, Jesus.
The bear wandered off and Cummings yelled for Lowry. But before he heard a response, the bear came back for round two.
Good Lord.
And that's got to be the worst, right? Like, you think you've gone through it all, and you're like, oh, my God, I survived it, and then here it comes again.
What if those two dudes were just like a sampler platter to the bear, and he tried the one, he tried the second, he was like, nah, I like the first better. It tasted better. I'm going to go back to the first one.
They tried out the apps and then went back for the entree. The bear came back for round two, this time biting Cummins on the head.
Oh, my
and
God.
Cheek.
Oh.
And cheek. Bit him in the cheek. Two other teammates, August Harris and Oren Jackson, helped badly injured Cummings off the mountain, carrying him at times. Lowry, meanwhile, was able to walk by himself.
You know, this raises an interesting question I've been meaning to ask.
that?
You guys know, I like to hike. I'll go up the side of a mountain. I'll go down a trail into the woods.
Yes.
I enjoy it. And since I moved to California, people have told me you should have bear spray and you should have anti-venom with you if you're going to go out hiking into the woods or on a mountain. Is that true? Does anybody on the show know? Are those things I should have?
Yeah, but it's not the bear that you really have to worry about if you're hiking around here. It's more the mountain lions.
Okay, but bear spray will work on a mountain lion, I would assume, right?
I think so.
There is mountain lions. Do I have to have all three?
My plan is.
What's that?
My plan is never to learn. Like what? My plan is to never learn about what I need.
Fair.
I just stay away from it.
The
all.
scary
All right,
thing
Robert,
is,
what do
Ramie,
you-
like occasionally every few years they'll be like, oh, there's a mountain lion, or like coyote roaming around Midtown.
Yeah, I know that happened in Milwaukee a few years ago. There was a mountain lion just walking through people's yards, taking their pets in Milwaukee of all places.
I'm out. I'm out on mountain lions. I'm out on grizzly bears. I'm out on all of it. I don't hike. I'm not going to hike. I'm good.
You know what might be a good deterrent to a bear or a mountain lion is the Pocky One Chip Challenge. Remember when we were going to do that? Remember when me and JJ made a bet
HR told us not
on
to.
Bears and Niners, and HR was like, yeah, no, don't do that. This came from KSTP in Minnesota. It's one of the most popular food challenges on social media, but there are concerns it could also be one of the most dangerous. It's called the One Chip Challenge, and if you're on TikTok or YouTube, you probably know about it. The challenge is to eat a spicy Pocky brand tortilla chip seasoned with some of the spiciest peppers available, and then wait as long as possible to eat or drink anything. It's meant to be harmless, but sometimes it's not. Just because something is available doesn't make it safe, said Dr. Travis Olivace, an emergency physician and poison expert at Hennepin Healthcare. He says his hospital has had 39 calls about the One Chip Challenge in the past year. 34 of those calls have involved kids under the age of 16. Olivace says the substance in peppers called capsaicin acts as an irritant and in some cases can cause serious secondary complications. The most common symptoms are mostly GI symptoms, vomiting, belly pain, and discomfort in the throat and mouth, he said. States such as California, Texas, and Alabama have already reportedly seen hospitalizations due to the chip. School districts in Georgia, California, and also in the Twin Cities are warning parents about the One Chip Challenge. A Pocky spokesperson provided the following statement: "We take safety very seriously and have worked hard to ensure our products are properly and clearly labeled with allergen and safety information. It is our intent that consumers take on this challenge with a full understanding of what it is and if it is appropriate for them." I raised a big stink that JJ didn't do the One Chip Challenge when I won that bet. I'm going to go ahead and say good call, HR. Good call. Good call by our
I think
HR.
Jay could handle it. I don't think you would have a
Trying to take me out. Take
Good
me out
job,
the game.
Rachel.
People are ending up in the hospital, man.
Yeah, we all learned that HR was right in this case. All right, so who wants to squeeze in a quick one here?
I could
JJ
do
or
a
Chris?
real quick one. You guys, I'm sure, have seen the commercials with the iPhone 14, where if you get in a car accident or that, it automatically calls 911, which is like a good thing. Like, you can't respond, so you should do that. Apparently, there's been some trouble. In Cincinnati at Kings Island, there have been several calls to 911 from people's iPhones or iWatches where they're calling 911 because they think they're in a car accident. But in reality, they're on roller coasters at the amusement park there. A ride called Orion that reaches speeds of 91 miles per hour and it has more than a 300-foot fall has called 911 several times. Now, there's a way to stop your phone from calling 911. There's a 20-second countdown to prevent false alarms. Except if you're on a roller coaster that lasts a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you're probably not going to be able to get that in time. So they're having trouble with that.
And now we know why I don't do roller coasters.
You don't do roller coasters either?
No, I'm not a big ride guy.
Huh.
No. Motion sickness and stuff is a big issue. No, would not go well.
Yeah, the roller coaster is probably not
Kelly
for you.
loves it. Kelly embraces all the big rides and all the crazy stuff. She wants to jump out of planes.
I thought I lived a sheltered life. You're
No, I'm sheltered, man. my wife's an adventurous maniac. I like my feet on the ground. I like protection over my head.
No bears or lions in the vicinity.
I'm out on that. No jumping out of planes or roller coasters.
I'm not doing all that.
No.
Jumping out
It's
of
too
a
much.
plane. Yeah.
Frankly, it's just too much work.
The fact people pay to
JJ
jump out of a plane is insane to me.
JJ and Chris, thank you guys. Fantastic work. Awesome to have Chris back. Ramie, have a good weekend, my friend.
Thank you,
Enjoy it. Get healthier and healthier tomorrow night. He's doing Kings Recap. Sunday night, Chris Watkins doing Kings Recap immediately following Kings basketball. Everybody else, have a great weekend. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.
We'll wipe her sawdust and detergent. Now hurry, go on to the altar. I know you ain't but remember what I taught you. Keep your heart 3 steps.